So now I gotta wait for this to start. Oh, looks like we're good. Welcome everyone to Shin-Arken Podcast, episode 21, I believe. This is Shin, and I got
Is it?
Arken. Yeah, it's episode 21, I think.
Damn. What's
Yeah,
going on, dude? How you been?
not much. I actually didn't finish saying who you were. It's Arken.
I know it just freaked me out because I wasn't sure what episode we were on. I'm surprised it's been that many. Yeah, I guess it can't be that surprising. It's been going on for a while, and it's nice. It's been a lot of fun so far. So that's awesome. All right, cool.
Yeah,
Very nice.
we've been going like it's probably felt like longer than it actually is, just because we've taken a number of breaks between several episodes, just because I don't know. That's what we do. It's just part of what we do.
No, and it's understandable too because you know what? Sometimes there's nothing to really talk about, or sometimes you got personal stuff you got to deal with. So yeah, it's fine. Again, there's no issue with that. There's
Yeah.
definitely none. So I get it.
Yeah, but we have good discussions when we do come on and do the cast and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So how you been? How you been with the leagues and all that?
All right, so with me, I essentially just, again, this isn't to hate on the game. I still like Guild Wars 2 for what it is. But my motivation is essentially gone. I got to Diamond, and then all I do pretty much is log on every day, get my daily chest, and that's it. That's all I do.
Yeah.
So that's just me. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could get legendary solo queuing if I really kept at it for a long time and just did it. But it's when you lose all that motivation, it's to me it's not fun. So again, the combat system is still very fun. The game itself can still be very fun, but just the way the meta is and the way things have been going for balance and it disheartens me, and also it doesn't motivate me to play as much as I used to. So again, I log on, I get my daily chest, and that's essentially it. And sometimes I'll duel a couple of friends here and there just for fun, just to keep some skills up and going. But that's it. What about yourself?
Yeah, that's a fair enough reaction to the way the league's been. But yeah, I actually kept with it. I pushed far and I managed to get legendary. So
Nice, dude. At least one of us did.
Yeah, I'm really happy for that.
Dude, you deserve it, man. You kept at it,
Yep.
and I respect you for it.
Yep.
So good for you.
And I
But
tried to keep it as legit as possible. I didn't do any of that like MMR scrubbing that we had before or any of that stuff. I
Right.
just played and tried to get through and whatnot.
What's interesting is, remember how we talked a while ago about the necessity for you to switch classes for your team
Yeah.
and to make that sacrifice. Remember that?
Yep.
I couldn't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
I tried. I do not enjoy swappings. And again, it's to my own detriment, really. More than anything else. But that's probably the biggest reason why I haven't really gotten legendary quickly, is because I just can't. I can't swap it.
Yeah. Well, like the
not
most,
to me.
I was gonna say the most important thing is to have fun. Like if you're like, I was still able to have fun making the climb to legendary. As frustrating as some of it was, or a lot of it was, I was still having enough fun to want to push through, and my motivation was still there. But like, yeah, if you're not having fun anymore, like it's not even really worth it to deal with all that frustration, or to in your case switch to another class that you don't enjoy and just suffer through it. Like, yeah, it's definitely not a bad decision to just not worry about it when you can't play the character that you want to play.
Well, that's what I mean. And the biggest problem that I've had with that is I've tried other classes. I have made the effort to try. And again, it's not to sound biased or anything, but just the rest of them, not all of them, but the ones I've tried, they seem they're just too forgiving. And I don't like that. I like to have some risk. I like to have some fun with it. And I just did not have fun. I tried Revenant. I'm like, absolutely not. Definitely. It's too effective for what it is. What else did I try? I think I tried Bunker Mesmer. I'm like, this is ridiculous, dude. This was before the Well of Precog change. Before the one where it was an evade and it wasn't an invul.
Yeah.
That's how I was like, this is ridiculous. No, absolutely not. So I mean, I made the effort to try and switch. Obviously I didn't try Warrior, I didn't try Thief because they're warriors. If I were to list tiers of effectiveness, again,
right down at the bottom.
they're on the bottom. Guardians are just above them. And again, I may be wrong, but I don't think we're as effective as we were essentially the 100 Blade Warriors when they first were introduced, and nobody knew how to counter them. And now that they do, yay, good times.
Yep.
So it's, you know.
Yeah, the Bunker Chrono, I tried that same thing before they changed the Prigog, and I actually like that sapped the fun out of that night. Like I just stopped having fun because of that build. It was
That's what I'm saying is if you're not having fun anymore, it's not you can't do it anymore.
yeah, it was
So
but yeah, that's
again,
was,
I still love the game for what it is, but at the same time, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna kill myself with it, and try and get to a specific status that I don't find to be fun.
yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. That's not happening.
And to be fair, I don't think anyone is going to discount you for not getting it this season, because this season is more or less a wash, just because there were so many things that went wrong, so many things that were abusable, so many, like, you have a bunch of people who abuse the system to get to legendary and whatnot through like the whole thing with queuing with lower division people. There's just too many things that invalidate the credibility of Legendary this season that I don't think it's really that big of a deal since you took a break. Like, it's just people aren't going to take it as seriously for this season. So you're definitely in good shape, because not only that, but there's also the balance and all that.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. That's why I'm not gonna push myself to a point where I'm not having fun. Like I said, the game's combat is still amazing. I love the game itself. I just do not enjoy where things have gone. And again, that's why we're gonna get into a discussion shortly. I don't want to delve into this too much because you've made it. You've made that sacrifice, and I don't hamper you for it. In fact, I praise you for it because you did that. You got off your warrior main, something that you hold near and dear to you, just like I hold my guardian, and you made the swap.
Yep.
I didn't. So that's why you earned it at the very least. I tried for a little bit. I got to diamond, and then I just kind of lost interest, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. The whole thing with and yeah, we'll jump over to the balancing in a short bit, because that's big news. But I was gonna say, even though I'm discounting this season as a wash and whatnot, like getting to legendary, since I did it as legit as I could. It still means a lot to me, because I put a lot of work into it, and I put forth a lot of effort, and yeah, the whole class swapping thing, playing things that I was not used to get there. So if anything, like, I may not be able to use it necessarily as bragging rights, but I can definitely use it as like a personal achievement.
No, absolutely, yeah, definitely. You've earned it. You should be able to have bragging rights for something that you achieved. So absolutely, no one should take that away from you. None. No one should. So you definitely earned it. And
they're not going to, because I have a shiny new Primordial Legend title.
Thanks. Appreciate that. You know what? Thanks. You're the awesome. But it's okay. It's understandable. I get it. Yep. So.
All right. So let's jump into the future. Things that will make the meta hopefully better compared to what it's
the future. The flux capacitor.
We're going back to the future. Going back to the future.
All right. That's awesome.
I have to fix a window, and apparently that window broke the other window, which
stop breaking stuff. You need to stop doing that.
I have a propensity to break everything. Wow, oh no.
Yeah, that's okay. Things happen, dude. Don't even worry about it. Things happen. It's not a big deal.
So apparently I can't really make the video window bigger without, or no, I can't maximize the window and bring up the notes to the changes without breaking the window. So I found a fix. I just have to not maximize. I just have to not maximize the.
Honestly, here's a question for you: Does it matter? I mean, don't you think it would be a good idea for them to see it, because maybe they don't have the window open? So honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah. I just wanted some stuff in the background for.
Gotcha.
For just kind of background visuals or whatever. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
You want to jump into the amulets and rune changes first?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
This won't this take us very long, because this is pretty simple stuff. All right, so they are removing. We'll go the runes first. They're removing Rune of Durability and Mercy. I would say that the change for durability was a smart one. That was probably one of the biggest offenders of the sustainable Bruiser meta we've experienced, on top of Celestial Amulet. So good on them. Excellent change. Arguably the best rune set in the game from PvP. I don't think anyone would disagree, no matter what you're running, whether it's offensive or defensive, whatever the case is. This rune set was amazing.
Well, yeah,
So
it made warriors actually work in competitive.
exactly, and
You
that's
know
not how
some,
things should go.
yeah, you know something's
Your
broken.
oh yeah, your build should not be, defined by a rune set or an amulet. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
So Rune of Mercy, I don't know why they got rid of this. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think Rune of Mercy was as ridiculous as I guess they may have.
Mesmer.
I mean, I guess so, but again, don't you think that's kind of a lazy way to balance things? Is instead of balancing the class, they just kind of remove the offending rune set.
Oh no, they balanced the class too. They balanced the class too. This, I think,
right?
they're.
But what are the,
I was gonna say, like, I think they're entirely trying to get away from the whole. They're trying to normalize rezzing and stomping as much as they possibly can, so they are removing everything that is external to, like res traits to help keep that there, keep it
Gotcha.
as normalized as possible, where the traits will make a difference because they are the only thing affecting res speed. And if you have things like Rune of Mercy and quickness, which we'll talk about in a little bit, affecting the rezzing, it brings us what we have in this meta.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and I get it. That's why I'm saying is that it makes total sense. It's just my biggest issue was that it only really worked against one class. I mean, it was OP against really one class. Like if you had any other class really running it, was it as bad or was it as ridiculous? I don't think anyone would really agree with that. Maybe it's just me, but that's how I thought.
Yeah.
So that's why I I get what you're saying. Yes, normalizing the res speed, and then we're going to go over that in a moment because they're doing that regardless with like quickness and slow. But at the same time, I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree with it. It's smart. It makes a lot of sense. I just think that maybe, just maybe, they could have done it to where they looked at the classes, the offending class and or classes more so than, the offending rune set or amulet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the thing is, they did. Like, they did look at the offending classes.
Right. But do you think it was warranted enough to remove that? Regardless.
When their goal is to completely normalize everything, yes. I am perfectly fine with them removing Mercy, and I understand their thought process behind it. Like, it makes sense. They're trying to, like I just said before, like, they're trying to normalize rezzing and stomping as much as possible, and Rune of Mercy is an outlier that they want to get rid of as a result of that goal.
Yep, that makes sense. I get it. I'm not going to disagree. Your explanation makes total sense. So, okay, fair enough.
Sigil changes. One of these isn't,
sigils.
Yep. One of these isn't that big a deal because it's like no one used it anyway. But the other one is like, whoa, where did this come from?
Well, I just want to glance over this one here, and I know why they did it. Is because if you looked at a lot of the other runes and sigils that had to do with minions or AI, they got rid of them.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of cleaning up.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it. I'm cool with it. No issue there. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. No one ran it anyway.
No one ran it anyway, so whatever. And now we're down to energy. This is actually a pretty hefty nerf because if my math is correct, this is like a 75% nerf because the overtime energy you would get versus the instant energy you do get, that's what I read on the forums, is that kind of like what it equalizes to. So
yeah.
I could be wrong. I haven't done the personal math myself, but just the mere fact that it's now it's now going to be vigor over just instant 50% more endurance. Honestly, I'm cool with this. I was never a huge fan of energy to begin with. I thought it carried too hard.
Yeah.
Just me personally. I think that this was a really solid change. Because again, as it stands right now, at least in my opinion, there was too many evades, too many dodges in this game. So I really don't have an issue with this one.
Yeah, this one, like, I agree with the reasoning behind it, and I'm not, like, super sad that it's getting changed this way. I think this is going to bring energy down to the level of a lot of other sigils, because right now it's what I've seen up until this point is you'll have, like, energy is typically in a majority of builds. Like, everyone goes for energy, and then unless there's another...
Hey.
You don't use it?
I actually have never used energy.
Huh.
I've always used hydromancy and something else, but it was never energy. So, but I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but like you'll see in a lot of builds, or a lot of people will run energy. And then unless
Right.
there's another sigil that like makes super like it synergizes super well with someone's build, you'll see just a list of like a whole bunch of other options. And like people, it's like okay, you can kind of go with whatever suits your playstyle. What this change is going to do, I feel, is it'll bring energy down to that level of okay, you can take this if you want, if it synergizes, but you have all of these other options. Like I agree with this change too, because a full dodge on weapon swap is very powerful, very powerful. Because that's another set of
Absolutely.
invuln frames. Like
Too
I,
many invulns as it is,
yeah,
frames, whatever the case is, it's too much. It's actually it's one of those things that this goes back to what I was talking about almost every single podcast, and it goes hand in hand with amulets as well. Is that some of these amulets and/or rune sets, sigils, whatever the case is, are far better on some classes than they are on others. That's why you'll see some classes run it more than others. So this kind of normalizing that and bringing them down to the rest of them is a solid idea.
yeah. This does affect me because I would always carry one sigil of energy on my shield, either in
All
World
right.
World or in PvP or whatever. So whether or not I get rid of energy, I'm not sure because vigor is still powerful. It's still nice to have on a warrior, but I might switch to something else because I won't be getting that free dodge anymore. So it'll be interesting, but I'm perfectly fine with the change because
Yep.
it brings it down.
Oh,
All right.
absolutely.
We should probably say which amulets are being removed before we talk about the ones that are being added.
Soldier, Settler, Celestial Sentinel, pretty much every single high defensive high defensive slash hybrid slash whatever you want to call it, build that allowed you to sustain yourself very well while also putting out high damage. And again, just like I said before, these only work on these favor only specific classes versus others. Like you'll never see a warrior, a guardian, a thief, even a mesmer. Now before mesmers would run I believe it was sentinel, but
Yep.
again before you wouldn't see a lot of these classes run these because it wouldn't be effective. You could not run these.
Yeah.
You could see potentially you would definitely see an Ellie run celestial.
Yep.
You could definitely see an NG run celestial soldiers. I mean, you could definitely see them running settlers for for again that Condi damage, or also maintaining high sustainable. So again, these favor again rangers too. There was a lot of classes that could really exploit these and maintain moderate to high damage output while also having the sustainable or sustainability of these amulets. And again, I hate bruisers, especially with the way ANET does it. So the again, just like I said before, not balancing around the class. And again, I'm not saying they're not. We haven't seen all the balance changes yet. We haven't. We have no idea what everything's going to come of this. But I don't have an issue with removing these either. Maybe it's because I'm a guardian and I could never use these anyways. Maybe I'm biased. I'm not being 100% serious when I say that. Maybe I'm just being biased when it comes to that. But I don't like hybrid builds that allow you to maintain a lot of sustainability and good damage. And if you've noticed, with a lot of these amulets, only those classes with mid to high tier, except Celestial, could run these,
Yeah.
effectively. So you're essentially shutting out those with low tier health. So again, like I said, I'm cool with this. Don't have an issue. I think soldiers. I was surprised to see soldiers on that list, but I'm cool with the rest. What about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this changes things. This will definitely speed up the gameplay. This will definitely speed up how matches unfold and how fights unfold because yeah, you won't have these people who are just tanking all these hits because they're wearing sentinel or soldiers. You're not going to have some of these really bullshit Condi builds that come out of. I've seen some Ranger builds that are absolutely ridiculous with settlers. You won't see any of those anymore. It's going to cut down on a lot of the slower paced. What's the word I'm looking for? Attrition gameplay that you've seen in a lot of previous metas that have caused for not so fun gameplay. The three S's, the Soldier, Settler, and Sentinel, those being gone, I'm completely fine. I have a pretty good idea of how that's going to affect things, just because they are completely tanky amulets and they have caused just slow gameplay on points. Selly, I am really interested to see what happens with this because this is a big almost crutch balance wise for Ellies and in some case Necromancers and NGs. It'll be interesting to see what happens because Ellies are going to get hit really hard by not having Celestial Amulet. It's going to be very interesting to see how everything works out for that. And again, we haven't, like you mentioned just previously, we haven't seen the full list of balance changes, so there could be a number of changes to each of those classes that have relied on Celestial that kind of helps them, gives them a bit more of a leg up to deal with not having the Celestial Amulet, but it's still going to be very interesting to see what happens with the void that is left by Celestial. Some of the new ones that are being added might pick up a lot of speed. You might see, like, there was an amulet that I was using probably a few weeks ago on my Ellie for team practice. I was using Magi's, and that's still going to be in, and that worked decently well for the support role. It just wasn't quite as good as Celestial. So you'll definitely see clerics and Magi's get more popularity simply by necessity. But yeah, I'm happy with the removal of it. If anything, for the reason that it will definitely change the landscape of how certain classes approach PvP builds.
Well, again, let me just kind of just combo on top of that for a second. And this is my thing, is I kind of agree with you in the sense that I can definitely see Ellie's being hit the hardest with this. I don't see NGs being hit hard by it too much because of the simple fact that now with Scrapper, they're already ridiculously tanky as it is, man. They have so much passive sustained. I don't think they're going to be hit nearly as hard as Ellie's. But again, that's just me. But the thing with Ellie, and again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, is the fact that you have these specific builds, these skills, these traits. Like right now, before you would have Ellie's would run, they would need to run, what do you call it? They would need to run Arcane Water and Earth, Air, Fire. I think it was Fire before for a while. Yeah. And that was interesting to see. But at the same time, you now you don't even have to run that because the simple fact is that you have Tempest providing even more boon spam, like a ton more, and in terms of group support as well. You know what I mean? So for me personally, for them, and again, a lot of Ellies are going to hate me for when I say this.
You've never been a friend of the Ellies, though, right?
Well, again, the boon spam in this game is still ridiculous. It's insane. So and especially with the new amulets, which we're going to talk about to be introduced, I don't think they're going to be in a bad spot. I'll be honest with you, I really don't.
Yeah.
They still have again. I've seen 40+ seconds in an AOE for group of protection alone. I mean, come on, dude. Doesn't that get ridiculous? Don't you think? I mean, probably the first and or second most powerful boon in the game. You don't throw it around like candy. That's not how it's supposed to work.
It's funny. It's funny. You're talking about boon spam, and on the background footage right now, everyone in the party has minimum of 6 boons, if not 7 or 8. It's the perfect timing.
It's out of hand.
Yeah, I agree. The boon spam is just a little crazy.
They don't even need. Again, they don't even need Arcane anymore, which was the necessity to keep themselves alive due to the, again, attunement swap for boons, right?
Yeah.
They don't even need that anymore because of the simple fact that now you have Tempest, which provides more boons for themselves and allies and an AoE. So I don't think they're going to be hurting. I'll be honest with you. Again, this is just me.
Well, there is something that when we get to the professions that will definitely change the landscape of how boons are, and I'll talk about it when we get to it. But
right,
like yes, the boon spam is ridiculous right now, but I think in the next meta it might not be as crazy as it is right now for a couple reasons, a couple changes that we'll get to, but. Yeah, right now, yeah, it's Ellie's.
It's out of hand, dude.
Yeah, with the new amulets, yes, I agree that Ellie's probably won't be hurting as much as they would if Selly was just simply removed and they didn't add anything back. But I still like the change. I still like removing Celestial because it will force more build variety for those classes. Will force more. Thought into builds, and you won't be stuck with Selly the entire time. And also, we don't know the full list of changes coming to all of the classes, so it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with which is the whole situation.
Right, and you're right, and that's the thing is that they need to be wary of it. And again, we've talked about it many times, and it's consistent balancing. When was the last time we had a major balance patch? Do you remember? Any idea what month it was? It's been at least 3 months.
Heart of
At
Thorns.
least.
Heart of Thorns launch.
Which was
October.
EW2. Really? It's been
Yeah.
October, so
Yep.
we're looking at 4 months.
Yeah. And then the one before that was in June. Like,
Okay, so 4 month. You can't do that.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't think that's enough. And again, we've also had it in the past. Just to gloss this over, because we should be discussing amulets, But in the past, whenever the proposed changes have been posted, 99.9% of the time, those changes were concrete. So whatever changes you saw that they introduced on I think it was the podcast that they had. I'm sorry, not the podcast. It was like Guild Chat. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, stream.
A couple days ago. Those are concrete. So what you see, and I'll put money on it. What you see right there, those will be implemented. I'm not saying they're everything, but those will be implemented, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes even in the past, those were the only changes that you saw, even at launch or the date. So again, that's not good either, So there are a myriad of changes that need to happen across every single profession in this game when it comes to traits, kits. What I mean by kits is weapon skills. It needs to be looked at. So, and again, I'm sorry to do that, shouldn't go off a little bit. So let's get back to amulets. Did you want to bounce anything off of that, or should we just get into it?
No, one thing I wanted to bounce off was I agree they do need to pick up their cadence. 3 months at a time is certainly better than what we had in the past, which was 6 months at a time. But they should do more smaller pad. They said they wanted to do smaller kind of hotfix patches midway through the season. Until this point, we've only
They did that a little bit, though.
Yeah, we've seen
They did that a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen one of those, but they need to be a bit more granular with their changes. Yes, these big ones happening more often are good, but they also need to follow them up with the smaller ones, like the precog and demonic defiance changes that we saw earlier this season. Stuff that continually tweaks the balance so nothing gets too out of hand, like with what we had this season with Bunker Mez and Condi Rev and just all this ridiculous stuff. They do need to be a bit more. They need to be far more granular and far more speedy with a lot of their changing, rather than just doing it in quarter of the year chunks.
They should I'll say this just to finish off. They should put a public test server.
Yeah,
everyone would agree.
That would be
guarantee it.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. If anything, just for PvP. Just for PvP, yeah. So then people can
public
test
server done.
Yeah, and then
that's it, done.
And then nothing too crazy gets out of the field, out of the testing area.
Yep.
All right, so they're adding 4 amulets. I got part of my throat.
What?
They're adding four amulets to replace the 4 that they're removing. They've got mercenaries, sages, paladins, and menders. These are interesting, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with these ones in place of the other ones. Like you mentioned before, you'll probably see a lot of people pick up things like paladins, things like sages.
Mostly mercenaries, dude. Mostly mercenaries. That scares me the most, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, mercenaries is basically vipers with toughness and vitality instead of whatchamacallit?
Precision, I believe, wasn't it?
Precision and vitality. It's basically toughness instead of
no, you're right. No, it's ferocity. It's precision and expertise, ferocity. Now you have toughness and vitality. So this sort of makes me feel like they're kind of bringing back a mini version of Celestial. Again, that's what it feels like to me, because now you have another hybrid amulet, right? This is hybrid right here. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
Those classes that can maintain a high crit chance, meaning Necromancers, Engineers, because they have high Fury uptime, are going to benefit. And in some cases, maybe Warrior a little bit, But mostly those two who can maintain high crit chance, we're going to benefit from this the most. Yeah. Especially those who have, good Condi variety, which again, like I said before, are Necromancers and Engineers. So I think they're going to benefit this the most. And you're still going to have a relatively hybrid, style of play you're going to have to fight against, which I was kind of hoping they were moving away from, which they were when they removed those other amulets. But this amulet scares the shit out of me, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, honestly, I think the one that's really going to take advantage of this is Necro. Just the fact that you've got a lot of power, and you've got a lot of power and a lot of condition damage on it, which means that all of their stuff is going to hit hard, but they've also got the toughness and vitality plus Death Shroud. So you're going to have a lot of these Necros running around with Mercenary Amulet, and just it'll be interesting to see what happens. And with the whole Necro thing, this ties into something I'm going to talk about later, or we'll talk about later when we get to the balance changes. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Necros. A lot of Necros next meta.
Oh, tons of Necromancers, and I still think, again, Engineers too, because again, this amulet, again, like I said, some classes can take advantage of certain amulets over others, and this is one of them. I guarantee it. Because again, when you, I'll just name a trait: Deathly Perception. Everyone knows it. I'm pretty sure exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You have 50% crit chance in Death Shroud minimum. You know.
Yeah.
So you have your crit chance covered right there, right?
Yeah, and then there's another one. There's the vulnerability, the crit on vulnerability trait that they have in Reaper. They can reach like 100% crit chance without investing any precision.
Now, granted, they're not going to hit as hard as a Berserker or a Marauder because they won't have the ferocity. That's understandable, but at the same time, it's still a hybrid amulet.
Yeah,
Make no mistake. And again, it scares me because it doesn't take. This isn't meant to be disrespectful to the dev. It doesn't take a genius to see this. It really doesn't. As soon as I saw that amulet, I knew right away this is going to be the trouble one. I guarantee. If there is trouble, again, we don't know. There could be enough nerfs to these classes and or buffs, whatever the case is, to justify these amulets. But I'm just going off with what we have now, right? With the information that we have now, and that tells me that amulet is going to be used by those two classes, and they're going to be, again, highly sustainable while also putting out significant damage.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Yep, that is a fair assessment of that, because I would agree with it. Sage's Amulet, I think this might be the one that you see a number of Ellies go to, at least the support Tempests that have been running Celestia up until now. This is probably where they might end up going. If they don't end up going to Magi or Clerics, which is there's a pretty good chance that if you're a support Tempest and you're dedicated to support, right? Yeah, you would want to go with that. But Sage's Amulet, I could see some of the more offensively minded ones, the ones that were using Selly more for the damage than they were for the support. This is probably one that you'll see a lot of Ellies take, if not for support, but just for general survivability or general sustain, because this will allow them to put out a good chunk of damage while also maintaining at least baseline boost to their survival to stay in the fight for long enough. So I could see a lot of Ellies moving to Sage's Amulet. You might see Engies switching to it as well.
Absolutely. Again, if they want to play their hybrid build, which again they can easily pull off. You know, again, this isn't limited to that either. Again, I could definitely see even Ellie's doing. I mean, I'm sorry. Again, I go back to Necromancers. Heck, even Mesmers to some degree. If you can pull off that hybrid spec by having a good amount of condition, variety, and then power, which they don't lack. So, that's that. Again, like I said, just going off what we know now, that is again another strong one. I don't think it's as strong as the other one because you don't have the toughness, you don't have the armor boost, so you're still relatively squishy. You're not as tanky, but yeah, I could definitely see this being a possibility, especially with support, without a doubt.
Yeah, I actually just saw something from someone mentioned it in chat. Apparently, they are watching Mercenary's Amulet the closest of all the new amulets, so they're aware of its potential. So,
let me ask you this, and this is something we've been talking about. Say it becomes a problem, and again, like I said, not to undermine what they're doing or the testing, but I'll take that bet. I will bet that this will be the problem amulet. How long do you think it'll take before they fix it?
It depends. I would say if they are as serious as they are trying to put forward that they are, I would say within, or I should say like 2 weeks plus the duration of the remaining, how they do things in like 2-week sets, like 2 weeks plus whatever's remaining of the set before that, that patch. Like after they find out it's a big problem, after they find out it's really crazy, the remainder of that 2-week set plus another 2 weeks. That's my guess.
If that's the case, that's not bad. I mean, that's not terrible. Yeah. I would prefer just 2 weeks in general, but I could take that. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, because apparently there was a quote or a post by Grout saying that that's the amulet they're watching the closest, and then they're going to give it a shot, but if it shows that it is too much and is causing too many problems, they will not hesitate to remove it. So They're watching
Go down
it.
to Paladin. Oh yeah, let's go down to Paladins. This is an interesting one because again, those classes who don't have condition variety, such as Guardians, to some extent Thieves. What are the class? I mean, what other classes really don't have good condition variety? Warriors to some extent.
Warriors Warriors most
They're like in the middle ground,
yeah,
sort of.
Warriors are ones that we have a decent amount of variety, but we have to really set ourselves up to get maximum variety out of our kit. So I could actually see a fair number of Paladin, Amulet, Warriors like this. I think this is what's going to happen to the Warriors who liked running, assuming it
Power.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, assuming Warrior comes back into the fold and these types of builds are viable. This is where I see a lot of the old soldiers hammer builds going to is the Paladin Amulet because you still get the toughness and vitality, it's just not as much, but you do get more precision now, so you can crit and all that fun stuff. Warrior is probably the least clear future picture I have for the next meta, just because I don't know there are so many things that like they say we're changing cooldowns and FCAS, and we'll get into that later. But there's stuff where they're saying they're doing this, but that change could include everything we have. So, like I can't make any definite calls on that. But anyway, like with Paladins Amulets, I think this is where you're going to see the warriors who like to run soldiers moving to, because it's very similar to soldiers, just less defense, and now you have precision.
And again, this is an amulet that's going to be utilized by those who don't have good condition variety. So, and that's not a terrible thing. I prefer a more focused play style that and if you want to be hybrid, you should be less affected of the specific one that you're not focusing on. That's just me. But yeah, I could definitely see myself running this one. Definitely. I can't see myself running mercenaries because all I have is burning. So it's like, okay, yay. But definitely Paladins is a possibility. Let's move on to Menders. This is interesting, huh? You know, the funniest thing is about Menders is that healing power doesn't scale very well with a lot of skills in this game, but it scales very well with some others. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's very all over the place with its scaling.
It is all over the place. I don't see this one. I see this one to be used the least.
Yeah,
in general.
This one I could see maybe on some druid build. Like, yeah, it's hard to really see a clear definition of where Menders is going to be used. I could see it being used on maybe some druid builds. I could maybe see it used on some support Tempest builds. Like, I actually messing around as Tempest during the season, I got to see just how the scaling was on healing power for a lot of the Tempest skills, and it's just garbage. Like, the scaling is just not good at all for pretty much everything the Tempest has, save one or two things. Like, the healing scaling is just terrible. So it's very like I can't even really say that Tempest will want to pick this up at all.
Probably not.
It's like,
it's funny you mentioned that.
I was gonna say, like,
I'm sorry.
Just like the only one that really comes to mind is druid builds for this.
Yeah, definitely. That seems like the only thing I could think of that would actually maybe utilize this. I still would see Drew. I could definitely see them potentially use mercenaries more just for the hybridness and the tankiness, because you don't get much relative tankiness to this one. So who knows? Again, we'll see. But I would see that this one being the least utilized of them all.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump over to the other thing that we've alluded to many times, but we haven't actually gotten to yet. Balance changes.
Yay! Some of them.
Like this. Yeah, we're going to make it very clear that these are not all of the changes. These are just a preview, and if my guess is anything to go by, there are a lot more changes coming in this patch than.
And I hope you're right, because I got to tell you, this is not impressive if it's just this. If it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool things in here, but yeah, like this, just these will they need to have more. There needs to be more here, and I'm really hoping there are more things in this next patch. So, general changes that are definitely going to help the situation we've been in for this past meta. Quickness and slow are no longer going to be affecting rezzing and stomping. That means you're not going to see any more super quick rezzes from Mesmers. That means you're no longer going to see any more instant stomps from Mesmers and Revs. That means you're not going to see any super fast rezzes from Revenants. It's going to normalize the rezzing and stomping rate, which is honestly for something as polarizing and fight determining as a stomp or a res, that needs to be normalized. Like I agree 100% with normalizing these things and only making it so traits for builds that are designed to be support will affect rezzing. Everything else, like mercy runes, quickness, slow, all that stuff is no longer going to affect it. I really like this change.
Completely agree. Again, this is one of the topics where we really don't need to discuss as much because I am in complete agreement with you. There's no perfect, good idea. Absolutely no issue with that one whatsoever.
Yep. Let's see. Another one that I like, and this is related to quickness and slow. This is from a warrior standpoint. Quickness and slow for a lot of defensive abilities are no longer going to affect them. This is mainly abilities that are like channeled things like shield block.
Okay.
What's been the case up until this point is, like, let's say I was under quickness and I pop shield block. Quickness speeds up the animation, which means it sped up the duration, or it reduced the duration of that shield block because the animation is faster. That's bad. That's really
That's a big
bad.
detriment. That's not what you want.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, an even more extreme case, the block on Warrior Mace 2 it only lasts for like I think half a second. With quickness, it was like up down. It's like okay.
That's funny though.
It's like where'd my block go?
Hilarious.
Yeah, so I'm really happy with this. Now they did say that there are some exceptions. They're not doing this to all defensive skills. Like for example, Blurred Frenzy on Mesmer. That is not
That's
getting
a quasi, you know.
Yeah, it's like defense offense, and they're
Yeah.
because like I agree with with Blurred Frenzy not getting the exemption because that is invulnerability, and if you're popping that invuln while you're under quickness, that should be your choice.
Absolutely.
And
So
also
no issue with this one.
It also does damage, and then there's the thing we just talked about, which is the whole defensive amulet thing. That's good. That'll be interesting to see.
Yep.
Guardian.
Sweet.
Guardian. I'll let you take this
Why do
one.
they always got to do Guardian first? Because you know whenever they do a profession first, you know the preceding professions get it better. In
Well,
most cases, I'm not saying all cases, but in most cases that seems to be the case from what I've seen.
At least you're
let's look at this.
At least you're not sitting there wait until the end of the list like I am every time.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess we can just start it up. Protective Reviver added a speed increase. This is probably due to the fact that they're removing the quickness, as well as the rune sets that affect rezzing. So that's cool, I guess. Yay. I don't think there's any issue with that. Moving along to Smite Condition, we'll move from 1 to 2 conditions instead. I guess that's kind of cool. I guess it's mostly meant to deal with the condition meta.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really have an issue with it. I could see this potentially bringing more meditations back into play instead of traps. Test of Faith. I'm not sure if I'm reading this one right. Right now, 66% of the full damage comes from when a player first crosses the rings, right? So, are we talking like the crossing damage was reduced or the initial damage?
The initial damage when you drop the trap and it pops up, that damage is the.
Oh, okay. I don't have an
66.
issue with that. That's cool. That's cool. No issue with that. That's cool. That's fine. No problem. I can see it being fair. My thing about it, and again, I've wrote a guide on this. This is just me. It's so easy to avoid traps, even the initial damage. I've written like a specific guide on how to actually avoid it, and yet not many people listen to me, I guess, because they still complain about traps. I'm not saying it's not too good. It probably is still too good for what it is, even with a way to avoid it, but you can avoid it, so I'm cool with that. I don't have an issue with it. If it's necessary, let it be done. Piercing Light, this is going to reduce that daze spam. What's interesting about this is they're looking at some of these skills and or traits that they weren't even strong in high tier play. So I don't understand the necessity to nerf this one. Don't get me wrong, daze spam sucks. I'm not disagreeing with that. But was it effective in high tier play? Apparently not.
It was irritating
so
as shit.
Oh, I'm sure, but there's a difference between irritating and powerful, right? This wasn't powerful, at least from what I've seen.
As a Tempest, I disagree.
I'm just saying, was it powerful enough to be in here high tier play though? That's the thing.
I think it was like this. I think this was less for how powerful it was and more for how disruptive it was. It was not fun to deal with this on like a 1 second daze that half the time you couldn't even stun break out of. Like I tried stun breaking a number of piercing light dazes, and for whatever
Right.
reason they would not stun break. Like I would be dazed for the full duration no matter what I use, and
Right.
it's not fun to be on the receiving end of, because you can't play the game. You literally cannot play when you are being daze spammed. It's the same reason why druids have been incredibly infuriating, is because you get dazed for these long durations, either through several smaller ones or through one big one, and you literally
Right.
can't play the game, and it's just not fun. Like it's literally like kicking the controller out of your hands. It's just
And that's cool. I don't have an issue with that. If that's what it came down to, and that's why, then I'm cool with it. Nerf it, absolutely. But again, this goes back to what I'm talking about earlier. Guardians don't really have access to hard CC or good hard CC. That was what we had. So now that that's kind of getting a smack in the face, I'm a little worried. But I mean, it is what it is. I agree with you. It sounds annoying, but I still maintain my stance that given the fact that Guardians are not in ESLs at all, same with Warriors, it wasn't effective. So I can definitely see the argument being there that it was just annoying and not fun to play against. I agree with that. So no problem there whatsoever.
yeah.
I can agree with you.
I'm hoping you guys have some love either through the nerfs to other things or through some buffs that we haven't seen. Because both you and my teammate Rat Guy, like you guys are not in the greatest spot at all this meta, and it's
I can't tell you how many of my Guardian friends don't play Guardian anymore.
yeah,
They don't.
yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one left, dude. I'll be honest with you.
yeah, I really
There's
want
not
you
many.
guys to be like I'm sitting here empathizing with you guys because warrior main, but like I want everyone to be viable. I want everyone to be competitive.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
All right, let's move on.
I was gonna say.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say with piercing light, like I'm happy they're reducing the days. I would have preferred to go away or have an internal cooldown, but
I honestly would happy if it just went away and replaced it with something else that
Yeah.
wasn't like annoying to fight or unfun to fight. I would prefer that.
yeah, this is
But that's just me. Like I
this
said,
this is basically gonna be AOE headshot thieves.
essentially, yeah.
NG.
All right, engineer. Really? I'm looking at this going, really? 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 Oh my god. All right. Okay. I'm going to bring some facts into this one because this is how I argue. I bring facts. I don't make up shit. Excuse my language as I go along. So, engineers, every single iteration of engineer has been some passive, low skill play BS, and I'll explain why. I'm not making this up. The first iteration of engineer, most of their damage was through, guess what? Passive proc through incendiary powder. Is that high skillful play? Absolutely not, because you couldn't avoid it. Secondly, you had Celestial. Was that highly skillful when you had nade spam and then slick shoes at your feet? Absolutely not. And then what do you have now? You have Scrapper, which is probably the most highly defensive passive line I've ever seen in my life. And now what you're doing here is you're increasing their passive defense even more. Are you kidding me? Really? I don't think anyone would argue and say that engineers aren't strong enough. This is ridiculous, dude. You're looking at what was it before? When you ran Power Wrench, it was a 15-second cooldown on Gear Shield, if I remember correctly. Was that what it was?
It's something
It
like
was
that.
16. I'm sorry, 16. What does this bring it down to now? Let's do some math.
Well, let's see.
Let's do some math. 33% of 20. That's 6.6, right?
So 14, 13.
14.3 seconds. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? On a gear shield. Probably, arguably, one of the strongest defensive skills in this game. Really? Seriously. I'm sorry, dude. I know I'm getting a little excited, but you're giving more defensive buffs to a class that probably has the highest defensive buffs as it is. That doesn't make any sense. Am I wrong? I'm not. Again, if I'm wrong, please tell me. But I'm not making any of this up. Again, you're looking at a ton of protection through protection injection, which is no skillful play. You have a ton of boon up time. You have constant swiftness. Your mobility is through the roof. You have arguably the best healing skill in the game, which is healing turret. I mean, what more do you need?
I'm gonna go ahead and interject here. I have a feeling there's a lot more going on in the patch notes than just what we got preview. Like, yeah, the Power Wrench thing, it's nuts, but I have a feeling there are a lot of other things that are changing with NG that is going to make this not as nuts as it seems. Like, they could be changing Gear Shield itself to maybe have a higher cooldown to offset this. Like, this could be mainly for the other skills on the toolkit kit rather than just Gear Shield. And I have a feeling that there are probably a fair number of number changes involving either toolkit itself or a whole bunch of stuff that is yes, with the preview, it's going to look like, oh my god, NGs are getting this crazy, defensive buff when they don't need it. Well, yes, at the surface it does, but I have a very strong suspicion that we're going to see a lot of other changes, like
And I hope you're right.
in the actual full
But
notes.
yeah, we can only go off what we have now, and that's fair, right? It's fair to go off with what information you have at this point in time.
Yeah.
So I'm going off just of what we've seen right now, on top of what they already have, which again is a ton of passive defenses on a top of a lot of very strong active defenses, ergo gear shield, right? So again, I'm sorry, I know I'm probably biased against engineer, but again, what I'm saying I'm not making it up. This isn't something that I'm like pulling out of my ass, dude. This is a fact.
Don't worry, everyone knows you're biased.
But see the difference between that and actually bringing up facts instead of just making up shit is a little different. I'm actually bringing up a solid point.
Yeah, I'm not discounting your bias and your way of arguing. I'm just saying a lot of people by now a lot of people by now know your way of argumentation.
Sorry, takedown round. What is this again?
That is,
striking a hell.
I think that's the esports rocket.
Oh, striking a foe above the health roll places a defensive delayed explosion charge on them.
Oh no, okay.
I guess that's kind of cool.
Very
passive. Not a fan of.
I thought it was.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the guided rocket.
Yep, the guided rocket.
Yeah. I don't like this because it's passive, but whatever. I mean, if they want it, I guess they can have it since it loves their passives.
This is kind of like the pulmonary strike trait that daredevils have, where if you interrupt an enemy, you get that delayed damage on them. But that's a little different because that involves having to interrupt someone. This is just when you hit someone, you get an extra bit of damage.
Right. I mean, as long as it's not a ridiculous amount of damage, I really don't have an issue with that. But that's a pretty nasty damage increase, 33%.
Yeah.
I don't know what the base damage is right now. It doesn't say on the wiki. It just shows you what it says. This skill uses unequipped weapon strength, causing it to hit far less than a 1.5 coefficient would suggest. So maybe it's a necessity buff, and I'm okay with that based on what this is telling me.
I was gonna say a good place to look at like actual numbers. Guildwars2skills.net. That has numbers for like everything.
Does it?
Yeah.
Do you see anything about that?
I can look it up right now.
You said Guild Wars 2. Is it GW2 skills? Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Let's take a look. Because, again, I don't like to bring BS into it. I like to actually know what I'm talking about. And just because, again, that's how I argue, dude. I don't like to just make up stuff. So let's see what we got.
That's a good way of argumentation, though. Always backing up your opinions with facts.
What is that under? Do you know? Is it firearms?
I believe it is explosives. Maybe. Explosives.
I don't see it.
Maybe it's Scrapper. And I don't know their traits very much.
I don't know. But again, we'll just go over the fact that if it was a necessity and it needed to be changed, I don't like passive traits like this. I don't like the nature of it. Again, this just reminds me again of IP. It's a passive proc, doesn't have any skillful, basis around it. That's my problem with it. But as long as it doesn't do an insane amount of damage, I guess I don't have a problem. What about you?
I found it. It's under tools, apparently.
Tools. Let's see.
It does 439 damage with nothing on.
So let's put an amulet on, and then tell me what you see.
Let's assume Marauder. Marauder amulet. Marauder amulet with nothing else. It is 900 damage.
That's actually a lot of damage, dude.
That's like a 1200 damage after the patch.
Think about smite condition. That thing hits pretty hard, right, in an AoE.
Yeah.
That hits more than that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. That's. I'm not lying. That's a fact. That hits more than a smite condition. Now, granted, smite conditions in AoE, and that's single target, and I can respect that. The simple fact is that it's still unavoidable because it is a passive proc, and I don't like those. So that seems like a lot of damage to me. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
What's it called again? The skill? I mean, the trait. I'm sorry. Takedown shot.
Takedown round.
Okay, so we're gonna put on. It was We also have to put on runes. So let's give him strength runes, just because that is 977. So let's do some math. 33% of 977 is
Like 1,300?
322. Yeah, you're looking at about 13. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. I'm sorry. Again, that's facts. I'm sorry. That's what I do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, though, because you might.
Oh, of course,
like
yeah.
it's a major trait in a specialization that people may or may not take. Like the power wrench and takedown round changes might be to incentivize using tools more. That might be the reason why they're making these changes. Because I think right now tools isn't really used much by NGs, like at all.
No, you're probably right. That's right. That's a fact. It's just I'm just looking at the basic nature of passive traits being too strong and applying either too much damage or too much sustain. And again, based on just numbers alone, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Now
let's move along to
here's two changes that are actually you will like based on what you're talking about with the whole passive defenses and all that type thing.
One of them's minor though at best. I'll be honest. That one's tiny. Rocket charge.
Rocket charge.
10 to 12. What is that? What is that? What kind of change is that?
You
have a triple blast. Yeah, you're right. It is something. It's a triple blast finisher that has an evade attached to it. Seriously? Who thought that was a great idea? I know. Again, I'm getting off the rails on this one, but I mean, really? Triple blast finisher that does a lot. It actually does a really good amount of damage too, mind you.
It's a triple leap finisher. Triple leap finisher.
Triple leap finisher, which does a decent amount of damage and has an evade attached. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to argue the point anymore. Again, I'm cool with that because it definitely does need a nerf, but that's tiny at best, dude.
Well, that's going to be one to see how it turns out.
Right,
now,
exactly.
The other change I am super happy about.
Absolutely, yeah. This definitely needed a change. Absolutely, yeah. Good change. That is actually a solid change for the stealth gyro.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
The number of times my team has been like, we've secured a kill or we've secured a down and we're about to go for a stomp or cleaving out, and oh hey, here comes the scrapper with their sneak gyro. Oh, they're gone. Oh, they're rezzed.
They're gone.
Oh
look. Second.
Yeah, this is gonna help with a lot of the bullshit we've seen in this past meta where it's team fights go on forever because of things like, not only because of the quick reses and all that, but because of the amount of times people can stealth down targets and res them really quickly, and you can't do anything about it because you can't see where the target is or you can't see where the reses are, so you can't knock them back or anything like that. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be really good.
No, it's a good change. Absolutely. Again, I have no issue with this change. It was a necessity. I mean, that was mainly what it was used for, not on top of stealth burst initially for initiating a fight, which is also common. So I'm cool with that. Not a problem. But again, this being the only changes or ones that we've seen so far, like I said, it's not enough. But just like you, I believe there will be a lot more, and I'm hoping there will be a lot more. So we'll see.
Yeah, before we move on to the next one, I just wanted to mention, I really like this because it takes, it nerfs it down to a respectable level, but it's still useful. 40 seconds is still a decently decently short cooldown. You can use it fairly often. You'll have it up for pretty much every fight, but it's not so spammable that you can just constantly use it over and over and over within a fight. It puts more decision making into it. It makes it easier to deal with. It makes it easier to It puts more pressure on the player and less on the opponent. And in this case, that's what was needed. But it's still viable. Yep. It's still good to take.
Yep. Well, again, just to reiterate with just the way things or every class should be, I don't know if you would agree. I'm sure, because I think you would because of the type of player you are. There needs to be risk versus reward.
Yes.
This hybrid bruiser BS needs to go. You cannot maintain similar damage levels of a Zerker while also maintaining similar sustainable levels to a bunker. That's exactly what an engineer is. I'm sorry, you can't have that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And because if every class, how fun is that to know that? Again, I hate to go off, but this is just something that you know how I am, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's all good.
How fun is it to know that any sort of mistake you make can easily be recoverable because of the simple fact that your class has so many passive defenses and a ton of strong skills offensively.
That's what
Doesn't that get boring after a while?
that's what
I mean, honestly.
that's what Tempest has been for me this
Yeah,
entire
so I'm
season.
like, it's incredibly forgiving. I don't like that. I prefer a proper risk versus reward. You can't have too much forgiveness. That's not what this game should be about. So that's it. Let's see.
Necro.
Would you like to continue, sir?
Yeah, we can jump on
Necromancer.
Necro. Okay, here are these next two changes. The top two ones for Necro are one of the big reasons why, or collectively are a big reason why I think we will see a lot of Necros next season. Not only will we see the Mercenary Amulet, but also tying in what we were talking about with the boon spam earlier, Necros are getting more like they'll be able to corrupt boon more often, and they will get a boon corrupt on their auto attack on Scepter. This is going to be incredibly valuable to teams in the next season, the next meta, because of all of the boon spam that we've had. Because from what we've seen, and again, there are a bunch of changes that we don't know about, so it could be completely different. But from what we've seen, there's nothing that really changes the amount of boon spam that's flying around. That's going to mean high damage Condi power, hybrid Necros with Corrupt Boon and Scepter are just going to be incredibly powerful against all of these boon spam classes and and help really shut down things in team fights and even in 1v1s. So again, like just with the changes to the amulets and these two changes where Corrupt Boon is going to be able to be used every 15 seconds and one boon removal or boon corruption on the third auto attack chain for the Scepter, that's like, I almost want to say every team is going to have at least one Necro. Like every team will have at least one. Yeah.
You know how every single season or a balance period there's one OP class?
Yeah.
I will bet you $50 Necromancers will be that. I have money on it.
I don't think they're going to be OP, but I definitely think they will be a staple.
I'm just saying, based on the information we have, say we just kept everything as it was and just implemented those changes alone. They would destroy every single class that has tons of boon spam, whether that be Ellies and Engineers and to some extent Mesmers. They would decimate them.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroy those classes. You would have no chance.
Yeah. One thing.
Now, again,
I was going to say.
Sorry, go ahead.
One thing. With the change, putting a boon removal or boon corruption. I keep saying removal, but it is a corruption. Putting a boon corruption on auto attack, like at face value, that does sound OP. That sounds crazy OP to put a boon corruption on auto. But the thing to remember, and I've seen a number of people freak out about this change, and I've had to remind them about this fact, is the Scepter auto attack for Necro is actually pretty slow. Like, it's very obvious when they're doing it. It takes a good while to get to that third auto attack, and then also get that third auto attack off. So I think, like, this is going to be one of those kind of counterplay things, is every team's going to have a Necro, just because of how powerful this stuff is. But this is also going to incentivize bringing control on the teams, like maybe a Hammer Warrior or maybe a Guardian with light or traps for piercing light, or just a lot of people are going to want to bring interrupts to interrupt the Necro, because they're going to be otherwise going off with this Scepter auto attack and ripping people's boons off. It does sound OP at face value, and it is strong. It is definitely a strong change. However, I don't think it's as OP or as crazy as I've seen a number of people freak out about, because, again, it does take a while to get to that third ability and then to get that ability off. And it's very obvious when they are doing that auto attack chain. So
yeah. Oh, no, I don't think the Scepter third auto is OP. I think it's just in conjunction with a decent amount of boon corruption they already have with the signets on top of it. Again, I think this... I don't really have an issue with this, so to speak, because I don't like boon spam. I think it's already floating around like candy as it is. I just think that this goes back to what I was saying a while ago, where only a certain amount of professions can actually deal with boon spam, and it was only ever Mesmers and Necromancers, right? Those two classes could only really deal with it. But guess what? Now it's still only those two classes. So instead of actually dealing with the boon spam itself or giving more classes the ability to deal with it, they're still making only that one class, one or two classes, have more ways to deal with it. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't think that's a good idea, because boon spam will still be there. So I think, again, I don't have an issue with it. I think the boon spam is ridiculous as it is, but I still believe that either dealing with the boon spam on the classes themselves or giving other classes other ways to do it instead of just making it one or two is a better idea. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because now you're forced to take your Necromancer. You are forced.
yeah,
You will be.
You'd
So-
rather see reduction on other, like reduction of spam overall, or
Either reduction or have every class have some way to deal with it, because boon spam is real in this game. There's not many classes that can do it. There's only like 3 classes that can really boon spam this game, but it's still there and it's still ridiculous. So, I mean, again, I'm happy to see that there is a way to deal with it, but you gave it to a class that was already good at dealing with it to begin with. So, what? You know what I mean? It's redundant. Doesn't it sound redundant to you to give more boon corruption to a class that already had solid boon corruption?
it might be
Am
because
I wrong in that regard?
No, you're not wrong. It's just it might be they want to further solidify the Necro's role as the dedicated boon converter, boon corruptor. Like they want Necros to be this highly sought after class for teams because they are so good at boon corruption. That might be
Right.
what they're going for with this is they just want to solidify that role. They want to make Necros sought after for that reason.
Okay. And again, I'm okay with that, but I still think that the boon spam still needs to be looked at regardless, because say you don't have a team with a Necromancer by choice, because there are eight classes in the game. I'm sorry, I don't play as much as I used to. There's 8 classes, right? There's 9.
9.
There's 9. I'm sorry,
Revenant.
I'm an idiot. You have 9 classes. Only 5 classes can be on a team. So what if you don't have a Necromancer? Then what? Then you're kind of screwed against those classes with boon spam, aren't you?
Yeah,
I'm just speaking frankly, right? So
yeah, that's gonna come down to what the next meta looks like and like how varied groups are, and it's like a lot of this stuff. Again, we have to reiterate this fact is we don't know all the changes. We can't make a full determination on what the next meta is going to be because there's so many things changing, and we don't have the full list of notes that any number of things could happen. Like this whole thing could not be a big deal. Like we don't know.
You're right. Absolutely. We don't know. But again, just like I said many times before, just going off what I know right now, which is not a bad thing, because going off with the information that you have now in the game is never wrong, because it's there right now, in its current state. So just going off what we have, I still think, just to reiterate, I still think they should look at boon spam as a whole instead of just making one class that was already good at dealing with it even better at dealing with it. Because again, if you don't have a Necromancer, I guarantee your team will be at a significant disadvantage because you won't be able to deal with the boon spam. So that's just me. That's all.
We'll see. Unyielding Blast is getting baseline piercing. Okay.
Okay.
All
cool
right.
with that. Whatever.
Oh no, it's not Unyielding Blast. It's Life Blast and Plague Blast are getting baseline piercing. Unyielding Blast will no longer do piercing. Whatever. It's whatever.
That's cool. Whatever works. Piercing isn't really even that good in this game. Honestly, it's decent when you're tearing up a down body and they're all lined up. I guess that's kind of good, but in general, it's not really that impressive. So okay, cool, whatever.
Okay, here's one I know you're gonna like. Diamond Skin.
You know what the funniest thing is? I'm looking at this. This isn't even really a significant nerf. If you really think about it, it's really not, and I'll explain. If you're not a class that has a ton of condition, application, and variety at a single moment, this is actually a buff for them. It really is. Say what you want. This is a buff. If you are not an engineer who can apply a ton of conditions at a time, or a Necromancer, or to some extent a Mesmer, this is actually a buff to Diamond Skin.
Yep.
It is. It's a fact. So what? Really?
But
It's just, I mean,
it's
no,
not,
don't get me wrong. But this is the opposite of what we were talking about with the boon spam. Now you're only allowing specific classes who have good Condi spike to deal with this, right? So you're going to be at a disadvantage if you don't have someone on your team who has significant Condi spike that can bring that down. Am I wrong? So doesn't it seem like it's the other extreme on the other end? Am I wrong?
No, because you do have a bunch of power damage that you can now bring in, and if you look at the amulet changes, and you look at the fact that you are both getting classes that can have higher damage They can be more offensive with both power
Right.
and conditions. And at the same time, you are having the fact that Elementalists will no longer have the option of Celestial or any of those other defensive amulets. It's not like this will. It seems crazy because you bring up a good point with that, but you will be able to spike down Ellie's A, past that threshold more quickly, and B, the amount of pressure on them will go up regardless of your build because you will have more options for doing both power and Connie damage. Like for a warrior, this is not even going to be a problem. We will be able to destroy this between both the both.
Must be nice.
Yeah, both.
Sorry, dude.
Both,
I had to say it.
I was gonna say between both the amulet removal of like Selly and whatnot, and the fact that we will have various, we'll have like mercenaries or whatever. We will be able to just blow through this threshold. It's not even gonna matter for us because if we're running a power build, they're gonna die, and the condies don't matter at all. And if we're running a hybrid build, like say with mercenaries or even with vipers or whatever, we're going to be doing a bunch of power damage, and we will also have high damage Connies on it. Like this, I like the change because now, if you're running a high Connie damage build, you'll be able to get at least one tick. You'll be able to throw a bunch of conditions up there, and if you're running high damage, it's going to eat through their health regardless. And then it's only going to move one at a time. Like, yes, they have other cleanses, but those cleanses are going to come through using cooldowns. And if you keep the pressure up, you will still eat through their health. You will still eat through their health, and eventually, like once you get past the 75% mark, this cleanse is gone, and you don't even have to worry about it anymore. So I like this change because it is overall healthier for just the whole
I think it's better.
engagement.
I think it's better than having having just a generalized, immunity. I agree with that point. But I don't think this is just a straight up nerf. I think that's a common misconception. This is not a straight up nerf.
Oh yeah. I agree. I was gonna say I agree that this is not a nerf, but this is a good change.
It's a better change, absolutely. I think the interval should be like 2 seconds. Honestly, again, you will get a tick off. You're right because it is 1 second. That's just how it works for every single condition tick. But again, like it's been brought up many times, unless you're a class that can bring significant Condi spike, this isn't really going to help you as much. So, again, I'm not discounting the fact that you're still going to get some decent damage off because you will get maybe 1 or 2 ticks off because of that. But at the same token, I still think it's an incredibly strong trait for what it is. It didn't receive a nerf at all because the health threshold was dropped, right? And you're still looking at good Connie removal. In actuality, with this here, to some degree, you can even get rid of some of your other forms of active Connie removal because you won't necessarily need them, depending upon what amulet you're running. Again, like you said before, with Celestial being removed, it probably will be easier to spike them down depending upon what they're running. But again, just going off what we have now, I think the interval should be 2 seconds. I think 1 second's a little too short. But it is a better change than having a straight up immunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I think 1 second is fine for now, and if it does end up being too ridiculous even still, then yeah, we could maybe drop it down. But I think it's fine at 1 for now, and see how it goes from there. I just like the fact that it is no longer a flat immunity. It no longer shuts out and hard counters those builds that rely entirely on conditions to be able to deal with the elementals. Like I just like the change, and even as it is with what they're going to, I think it's still worth at least watching for a while to see how it turns out. And yeah, if it does end up being too much, I agree. Well, we can go drop it to like 2, but for now, I think it's fine. I think it's good.
Cool. Auras. This kind of makes me feel a little bit like the change that engineers got with Rocket Charge. This is a minor change because right now auras are at 5 seconds. This goes down to 4. I mean, that's not really much of a change. Honestly, again, I'm biased. I think 3 seconds would have been good because of the fact that it's AoE auras, and auras are a giant pain in the ass to deal with as it is. So, again, it's not a bad change.
Don't you love that magnetic aura, Arken, as a Dragon Hunter?
Yeah. No, dude. I don't like that aura in general as a Guardian because a lot of what we have is ranged. Sword Auto is ranged. Scepter is ranged. Longbow is ranged. It's just a lot of range.
I have made several Dragon Hunters this season kill themselves in a 1v1 on my Tempest. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's rough, dude. So, I mean, again, it's a good change, but I don't think it's enough. From 5 to 4, I mean, that's minor at best. Just saying. There
Yeah,
is too much aura spam as it is.
yeah. The thing with things that are this powerful and reducing like second intervals with things that are this powerful, like on face value, yeah, it doesn't look like that much, and it looks like it could go more. But this is why I'm also I'm still feeling good about it being 1 second on Diamond Skin is like 1 second in combat for powerful skills is it feels like a very long time just because of the nature of combat and like dropping it down by 1 second I think is a good first step because then you can see, oh, does it feel good or oh, is it still too much, and then you can go from there. Dropping down to 3 seconds right away, you've got the chance of it becoming too weak too quickly, and it's having a bit more of a granular adjustment with stuff like this, with powerful stuff like this, is a bit better in my opinion because you can measure it a bit more easily and you can see how it affects how big the interval of change is, so then you can further adjust based on that. Whereas if you make it too big of an interval, you don't get an accurate reading on how powerful a change like this is. Like a good analogy, or not analogy, but a good comparison is, remember when Heal Sig was OP?
Oh yeah.
All they did is they reduced the heal by 80 healing per second. That was it. It didn't, like, at the time, it didn't even look that big of a deal. I was like, oh, that's not going to change anything. But sure enough, 80 healing per second made a big difference, a huge difference for the survivability of warriors.
But wasn't
following
but wasn't,
patch.
healing. I thought we were talking about. I'm sorry. For some reason, for a second there, I thought you were talking about Ellie's. I'm like, wait,
No,
what?
no.
Okay,
Healing Signet.
No, you're right. And that is something that they need to address for more active play because, again, it's more passiveness. I'm not a fan. But I see what you mean. Absolutely. It definitely hurts the survivability. And I see what you mean. Yet you're right. They should do it slow. They should do it in baby steps. But the problem is those baby steps only work if you balance consistently.
Yeah.
If you wait as long as we've been waiting, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That doesn't work at all.
Yeah. And
you're better.
I was going to say, going back to what we talked about before, like, if they go and they are more granular mid-season and they make more changes mid-season instead of these balance patches, that's where this stuff will really shine. And taking it one little interval at a time, as long as they adjust more often, then it's fine. But yeah, I agree. If they only do these adjustments once every quarter of the year, that's too slow and you're not balancing quickly enough. So yeah, I agree on that regard.
Very hesitant because, again, past practice shows that they balance, the margins way too wide for these tiny changes, and we're stuck with these tiny changes which really didn't do anything for months on end. So, and again, for me personally, I don't know, it doesn't take very long to see what's strong and what's not. Honestly, I could figure out what's strong in any class, give me a month, maybe even less. It doesn't take very long to figure it out. So that is why I'm hoping you're right. I hope they do it. And just quicker intervals, and we look at it from a better point of view. But just past practice, unfortunately, it just shows me otherwise.
Yeah, their track record isn't so great in that regard.
It's really not. Shall we continue?
Yes, Fresh Air. Oh boy, Fresh Air. You're going to see a number of these flying around. I can definitely see more Fresh Air Ellies in the next meta, because holy shit, this change.
See. In addition to what it does, you get 250 ferocity for 5 seconds. This bonus doesn't stack in intensity, so you'll be critting. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, like I said, bring up valid points. I don't like instant shit. This is instant. Very little to no counterplay. I know I'm not wrong in this regard. I mean, I would like to see more DPS-oriented Ellies instead of the bruisers we've been seeing, but I don't like the way this is going about it because it's like again, smite condition on Guardians. There's no counterplay to it. If you're in melee range, I'm gonna hit you. Unless you just happen to get like a lucky, block off, blind, or dodge, you're gonna get hit by it. There's no counterplay. So again, I think they should have done something else besides add on to Fresh Air. Give it something more meaningful. Give it something that has more counterplay, but also more rewarding because of that counterplay.
Well, here's another thing about Fresh Air. Like before, something like this would have been very powerful because just how Fresh Air worked before. It's very high spike and very, like you were saying, instant. It's rough to deal with on the defending end. But in combination with both the fact that defensive amulets are getting removed, so people are going to be inherently squishier, and the fact that Fresh Air affects Overload Air, that is a lot of damage. That is a lot of spike damage coming out. And Overload Air, AoE, it hurts. Like, I've run a Marauder Amulet with Overload Air, and it hurts. It hurts people a lot.
No, absolutely, yeah. And again, it's instant by nature. Do you really want more instant and or passive stuff? And we're supposed to move away from that type of stuff. Why are we having more? And why are we promoting more? That doesn't make any sense to me. This game's not supposed to be about that. So, again, I wish they would have just completely redid Fresh Air and did something, again, that's more rewarding. Like, give it more damage, but also have an easier way for someone on the defensive end to deal with it so that you're not getting instantly spiked each time. So, that's it. I mean, that's all I have to say. Again, I think it's a bad change. I want to see more offensive Ellies. I do. But this is not the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, I'm reserving my overall judgment on this one until I see it, but I'm happy to see more offensive LE playstyles come back into the fray as opposed to
absolutely
what they've been forced into this season. Shatterstone. This is kind of one of those it's about time changes as far as I'm concerned. Like, Shatterstone has always taken so long to go off. Like, it's so unreliable to use.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like,
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, you see the little stone sitting there for 2 seconds, and it just.
Well, it's 3 seconds. It's gonna be 2 now.
No. That's
no.
I'm
sorry. No. That's the cooldown. My apologies. I don't have an issue with this one. It still gives you enough time to react, so that's fine.
Yeah.
No issue with this whatsoever. That's cool.
Yeah.
Mesmers. Let's see. Mesmer.
I don't like I don't like the fact that everyone is overrated. Like, I'm looking on the Reddit thread is where I'm getting the notes right now, and it says "rip" in parentheses. It's really
when you
not.
Do that? In Reddit.
Yeah, on Reddit it says Mesmer and then "rip" in parentheses. Like, okay,
listen, you can't judge that based on what we don't know. We don't know. We don't have everything. So even though I may think a change is not good enough or significant enough, we don't know the whole picture. So even I'm not that naive to say that something is rip. It's not until we know.
Yeah, well,
but you can still give your opinion on what you see or what you have.
Yeah, here, the thing people are freaking out about mainly is the alacrity nerf is dropping from 66%. Whatchamacallit, cooldown recharge speed to 33%. It's still a boost. It's still going to make your stuff cool down faster. It's just not going to be as fast. And the cooldowns as they are already decently quick. Like, if people are thinking, like, oh, my shield cooldown is not going to come off quickly enough, it's still decently fast. Just, like, the other thing, like, the main reason people are freaking out about this is raids. Like, people are like, oh my god, no one's going to want my Mesmer for raids anymore because my alacrity is going to suck, and I can just bring someone else.
That's such bull.
That's the thing. Like, it's not that big a deal. One of the biggest reasons people bring Mesmers for raids, and I know we typically do PvP on this cast, but this is relevant because of how encompassing this is. I gotta bring the PvE into this. The reason why,
of course, yeah.
The reason why people bring Mesmers, or a big reason why people bring Mesmers to raids, is DPS increase, like group DPS increase. And yes, alacrity does help with that, but it's not as big as the quickness they bring. Yes, not having as much alacrity it's going to mean not as much quickness and whatnot, but that quickness is still going to be there, and you're still going to get a lot of damage group-wise out of having that quickness on a lot of people. It's not, like, just because you won't be able to put out as much quickness doesn't mean the quickness is nerfed, or it doesn't mean you won't be able to put any quickness at all. It just means it'll be slightly less often, and yeah, the overall DPS of the group might go down a little bit, but it's not going to be so much that people are going to be wiping on bosses that they've had on farm status for a long time, unless it's been, like, very skin of the teeth every week, in which case you should probably look at other things that are causing that issue. This is not as big a deal as people are panicking about. Mesmers are still going to be valued. Mesmers are still going to be fine DPS, fine support in raids. In PvP, they're still going to have their cooldowns up. You're still going to be able to share alacrity. It's still going to boost cooldown speed. Just because it's getting cut in half doesn't mean it's worthless. It's still going to be useful, and I really don't think that the panic is warranted for this scale, because one, of all the stuff I just said, and two, we don't know all of the changes. There could be cooldown reductions. There could be any number of things that offset this change that almost make it not as big of a deal, and they just change some of the more outlier things. I don't agree with the panic. That's what I'm trying to get at with this. This is not such a big deal that it warrants all of the panic that people are having over it. Mesmer's, as far as I'm concerned, I see plenty of places and plenty of roles for Mesmer's next patch in the balance. Like I am not worried based on this change. I am not worried at all. The other changes they have don't really affect their usefulness at all anyway. And also going back to the bringing it back to PvP, going back to what you were saying before about the boon spam, Mesmers are really good at boon spam, or removing boon spam, at dealing with boons. So they're still going to be valuable in that regard. And also with the changes to defensive amulets and whatnot, that means that Shatter Mesmer is going to be more potent again, because it will be able to blow people up more quickly.
Blowing them up.
Yeah, I really, really don't like the panic that I see people having with this. It's not that big of a deal.
Is it surprising though? Come on, that's how people go.
No, I mean it's not surprising, but I'm just stating
it's unwarranted.
Yeah, it's really unwarranted.
And I'm with you on that. You know, again, I can only speak from a PvP perspective based on Alacrity being incredibly powerful, especially as a Chrono Bunker, even as a Shatter Mesmer. Just the effectiveness of Alacrity is incredible. And especially since it is the only boon in the game that is specialized towards the Mesmer. No other class can apply it. Think about that for a second. No other class can apply Alacrity. Remember, I could have sworn a while ago, remember a long time ago they said they were going to give Necromancers a specific only condition. I think that was Torment. Guess how many classes got Torment?
Exactly.
This is the only class that can apply Alacrity. That is incredibly strong. People they don't think about that. They don't. So again, I can only speak from a PvP perspective, and I say that I think it's a decent change. I don't know. Again, if they keep doing changes in a methodical manner and consistent enough to see, maybe it was over nerfed, or maybe it wasn't nerfed enough. Then it's fine.
Yeah, they could.
But until we get that,
if they do pick up on what they said they were going to do and be a bit more granular, they could up it back up to like 45 or 50%. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just because it's getting nerfed now, it doesn't mean it can't ever change again. And that's something people need to remember as well.
Exactly.
Well, if precog changed instead of
that's a nasty nerf.
It is a nerf, but it's not as I like it. I like it because it's still.
Oh, I do too, because I hate bunker mesmers.
Well,
I'm again biased against them, so I like it, but that's a pretty big nerf.
But I was gonna say I like precog because now you won't have to worry about the point cap contribution thing anymore. It's Aegis, so it's still powerful, and it's 3 seconds of Aegis every pulse, every second, so it's still decently powerful, and it's a utility. But Aegis is manageable. Invuln is not. Invuln does not have counterplay.
But it's not Invuln anymore.
That's the thing. Like, Aegis does. Aegis does have counterplay. And that's why I like this change. It gives counterplay to it, but it also means that you can use it for kind of, I think, what the original purpose of it was like helping to defend your team, helping to support your team in a team fight.
Right.
It allows you to it allows you to use that for that purpose again without having to worry about your team losing the cap because they're all invuln and it's not contributing and it's, you're losing the point.
Right.
I like this change because it brings precog back to what it seems to have been designed for originally, but it also introduces counterplay, and it's just nice all around. I really like it. It is a nerf. It is not invuln anymore, but I think it's a good change.
I like it's a good change because again it does provide more counterplay to it. I agree with that fact. That is without a doubt 100% correct. However, I disagree on the powerfulness of Aegis. Aegis is really not that strong. A simple auto attack will destroy it. Tons of attacks and tons of skills in this game are multi-hitting and or fast. So you're only getting 3 Aegises because it pulses 3 times, right? Isn't that it?
Yep.
Am I wrong? So you're only getting 3 Aegises. Honestly, That's not that strong to warrant its long cooldown, at least in my opinion. If this stays the way it is with a 45-second cooldown, it's going to get over nerfed. Just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but that's the way it feels to me. Is that it is not going to be worth taking at all anymore. That needs a cooldown reduction. If you're going to keep it the way it is right now, then it needs a cooldown reduction.
There might be a cooldown reduction.
So,
malicious.
shall we continue?
Yep, malicious sorcery. Okay. All right.
Cool.
It's faster auto attack speed on Scepter. Or no, I think it's just
cool.
I think it's overall attack speed. So whatever. Okay.
Cool.
Chaos Armor.
Guardian Scepter stays high for over 3 years. Just putting it out there.
I saw
I'm gonna leave that there.
The last time I saw you in a match, I saw you using Scepter. I'm like, holy shit! Arken's using Scepter.
Yeah.
What is this?
All right, so I'm gonna explain that really quickly. I have changed my spec from sword focus and longbow to scepter focus and longbow, and here's my reasoning. One, Guardians are still, at least in my opinion, the slowest class in the game. After our teleport, we cannot keep up. We can't. It's not possible. We will be kited. So, what is better? High damage that is not consistent, or medium damage that is sort of consistent? Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why I went with double ranged. So, that's my whole thing about it. Is again, and not to mention, just like with Warriors Endure Pain, once my Shield of Courage is gone, I get blown the F up. I'm dead. I can't sustain myself in a fight. I'm dead.
Yeah.
So I still, even if I had a way to keep up with someone, my sustain isn't very high to warrant me wanting to stay in the middle of all that AoE shit. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's.
Just wanted to put it out there.
I was along the same line of thinking with when I was messing around with Dragon Hunter. I was along the same line. That's why I was using Scepter so much. I'm like, yeah, it's not the most reliable, but it still does pretty high damage, and I can stay out of the fight.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So
let's
moving on,
see.
Chaos Armor. I am incredibly, happy about this change,
Dude,
as a warrior.
The blind spam. Oh my god, the blind spam that Mesmers already have is ridiculous. Thank God.
Cutting down on blind spam.
That is a great change.
Yes, cutting down.
But they also gave it a little bit of a buff too.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But
they did. It's not a complete nerf.
Yeah, it's like I am like all of the rest of that stuff. I'm fine with. Just the fact that blind is gone is amazing. Blind spam needs to be cut down, and this is one of the ways of doing it. I saw this change and I freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I can deal with.
This may not even be a nerf, dude, because weakness is really strong.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And they also gave it other buffs too, so this isn't even that bad.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I'm fine with all the other changes. Like, weakness is strong. Weakness definitely is a good replacement for it. But I can deal with weakness as a warrior. I can't deal with blind as a warrior. We just can't. Like a warrior.
It's not fun.
If we have weakness, we can still hit people. We can still CC people. We can still do things to people with weakness. It just won't hit as hard. Blind, nope. Blind, you've just negated our entire arsenal.
Dude. Oh my god, dude. Just the amount of blind. When they introduced blinding dissipation on top of this, I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, this is gonna be fun. So I'm cool with that. So
yeah,
yay.
Cutting down on blind spam is a very good thing to do. Very good thing to do.
Ranger.
The Ranger changes were kind of.
Well, I haven't taken a look at them yet, so this is actually my first time looking at them.
Okay.
Search and rescue. We will now give ally in the area regeneration, but if there's an ally down in the area within 1,200 range, that's a large range.
Yeah.
The pet will teleport. Wow, that is nice. So there's a double effect to this one. If you use it and nobody's down, you get regen. But if you're within 1,200 range, which is a very long range, and you're down, the pet will teleport to you and res you. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
That's good for support. This is a very nice support change. I don't think there's a problem with this one.
Yeah. Because Rangers,
I think it's a great change.
Rangers up until this point, other than I think way back when we had the Spirit meta, the Spirit Zoo.
Wonderful.
Rangers have never really had a super good, with the way things have been balanced, they haven't really had a great support role. They've been good at bunkering with Druid. They've been all right with support with Druid. And then way back when we had Spirits, they were pretty good at bunkering. They were mainly bunkers back then too. They've never really had something super great for helping with reses or helping with with supporting allies in a fight. This is
Right.
actually really nice. Another thing that's cool about this is since the pet is teleporting, let's say you're on mid in Niflhel, you're on mid at the keep, and your thief buddy goes down, and he teleports up to that top ledge. Say you're fighting a bunch of people who can't teleport on the other team, and your thief buddy has to teleport up to the top ledge. Well, as a ranger, you can't get up there. You can't you can't teleport yourself up there. But with this change, boom, search and rescue, your pet's up there, resin him. Boom, awesome team support.
Yep.
Like I really like this change.
I will say though that there's another change I think that needs to happen. The cooldown's really long. 85 seconds is way too long. I think it needs an additional buff to reduce the cooldown to probably 60. 85 is long.
There is a trait that reduces shout cooldowns.
But still, it's only 20%, isn't it?
Yeah.
That still seems really long. I'm just saying that's strong. I mean, I think the cooldown's a little too long. That's just me. That's all. I think it's a great change. I just think that it needs a little bit. I think it needs another buff. That's all.
Wait, I'm rereading this. It says the pet will teleport down person to you, and then revive him.
Oh wow!
So it's transfusion.
That's actually better.
Yeah, that's even better.
I think in some case that's even better because again, if say you apply the same scenario, now you're all there. Let's res, together instead of just the pet, which you may not even get the res off because it's only one person or one pet doing it.
No,
that's actually I think it's better. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Wow. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I misread that as well.
I went and reread it, and it's like, oh shit, it's transfusion, which is also awesome.
That's awesome, dude. That's actually good. I still think the cooldown's a tiny bit too long, but it's a good skill.
And again, we don't know all the changes, so maybe it is getting cooldown reduction.
We don't.
Protect me. I like that. Okay, this one, I like as the ranger, and I am horrified by it as a warrior fighting that ranger because AoE stun break is really nice for support. AoE stun break is incredible for support, and it also gives protection. The part that is brutal as the warrior fighting this ranger is that taunt. Unless I have stability, that's gonna hurt.
So what you essentially have to do with this is, if you say you stun break your allies, now the enemy has to be careful because if they attack you, they will be taunted and be forced to attack your pet. We don't know the duration though. That's the most important part is the duration.
Yeah, the
we don't
duration
know what it is.
Yeah, if it's like a second,
that's a cool change.
Yeah, if it's a second long taunt, that's not too bad. If it's 2 second, that's kind of painful. If it's 3 or more, that's too much.
Yeah, I'd say 2 seconds seems fair, but 3 or more, that's yeah, we're into some serious.
I'm looking at you, Revenant territory. Yeah, Revenant.
Yeah. Revenant territory with that one. So let's avoid that.
Hidden barbs.
Yeah, it's a good change.
Yeah, hidden barbs.
Let's see.
Okay. Whatever.
Oh wow. Increase the damage from 20 to 33.
Whatever.
Okay. I guess that's fine.
It's bleeding.
I mean,
bleeding doesn't do that much damage unless you really stack. Although that being said, rangers can stack obscene amounts of bleeding. So.
Yes, they can. They can. So they might just take it. We'll see.
But they don't have settlers anymore, so that's good.
Yes, that's very good. Oh. What do you got? You have Predator's Onslaught, increases damage for you and your pet on inhibited targets, change from 10 to... That's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Damage up.
Don't have a problem with that one.
Yep.
That's nice. Enjoy. Moving along.
Revenant Sword is getting some changes. I mean, not gutted, but it's getting punched in the face.
You think that's enough? 10... So wait, it's going to be 10, 20, and then 10.
Yep. Overall, 40% damage reduction to the auto attack. However, that damage is getting added to the other skills. Actually, no, I take that back. It's getting added to Unrelenting Assault.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that since a lot of the damage that again Revenants were putting out was due to auto attacking, just the obscene. We're looking at over 4K autos, and it's very fast autos. We're not talking like slow damage
especially
here.
If they pop.
So that's good.
If they pop impossible odds, that's damage.
Yeah, not to mention a lot of the modifiers they have are very easy to upkeep. Very easy to upkeep their damage modifiers. I hope they look at that too, but that's a different story.
Yeah. And they may have.
So I'm cool with that. Yeah, I don't know if it's enough damage of a damage decrease. I have no idea. but I'm cool with it because that was a huge problem with Revenant, so I don't have a problem with this. I hope it's enough. If it's not, they need to look at it. If it's too much, then obviously you revert the change. So that's it.
Yep. I like the change to Precision Strike. Okay, like right now, it just throws out 3 projectiles, like no matter who's around you, and it's just kind of like, or actually no, I think it only throws it only throws projectiles based on the number of people around you, and if there's one target, it throws 1 projectile, and it's like, okay, it's damage and a chill. If there's 2, it's 2. If there's 3, it's 3. This I like the fact because it makes Precision Strike more useful, more valuable, because now you're gonna get all of the projectiles worth of stuff. You're getting the full effect of the skill at all times, provided there's someone around you.
Right. I don't know if I like this change because again, it's on a really short cooldown.
Yeah.
That's again, I know they reduced the chill, but only by a tiny bit. You're still looking at say I hit you with all 3 bolts. You're looking at a 4.5 second chill on a 4 second cooldown. Just saying, if you really think about it, that's a lot of chill. I was kind of hoping that they would have just left it alone as it was, because the cooldown's so short. It's only 4 seconds, So I don't know if I agree with this change.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, honestly.
That's a really short cooldown.
Honestly, when I've been fighting a Revenant in this past meta, I haven't been worried about the chill. I've been worried about many other things.
No, of course, but again, I'm not like this goes back to what I've always said is that just because a class gets nerfed doesn't necessarily mean you have to buff it. That class may just need straight up nerfs, just like another class may need just straight up buffs. You don't have to compensate in other areas if they're already compensated enough, right? So that's kind of like when my point comes in with this. Sword on Revenant did not need any compensation whatsoever. So that's why I'm a little hesitant on this one.
Yeah,
just my opinion.
I think there are a lot of things revolving around Revenant that are changing more than what we got previews. So
no, yeah, but again, like I said, that when people complain and yes, we should nerf this, but we want buffs in other areas, I'm like, that's not how it always should work. I'm not saying it shouldn't, because some classes do deserve that. They should get nerfs and buffs in some areas. But if you get straight up nerfs, you may have just deserved those nerfs. You may not deserve compensation in other areas, right? So this is one of those issues where I'm like, they don't deserve compensation in any other area in Sword whatsoever. Sorry, just putting it out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that changes things. Unrelenting Assault is definitely going to change some things a little bit.
This is what I suggested a long time ago. Just reduce the strikes. That's all you had to do. Yep. This is all you had to do. I'm cool with it. Now, I don't know. I personally think it should have been down to 4 strikes, but 5 is fine, I guess, for now. I guess that's better than nothing. But yeah, that's exactly what they should have done. Just reduce the strikes so I don't have to blow 2 cooldowns. I mean, I'm sorry, 2 dodges.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's going to be less evade time, less strikes that you have to deal with. The strikes are getting a damage buff, so it's not like they're losing damage. Well, overall, Sword is losing damage.
It is, but the thing is, again, was Unrelenting Assault ever weak? It was strong. Like I've done damage. I've done like damage equivalent to 100 blades on Unrelenting Assault. So again, this begs the question again: does this skill need a compensation?
The thing is,
this is a quasi hybrid skill, kind of like Blurred Frenzy, except you can stand your target, right? And I'm pretty sure it's more spammable. And it does more damage. So that's why I don't think, again, this needed a compensation.
The thing about this is, overall, yes, it's powerful against one target, but what they're doing here is by reducing the number of strikes, it's going to make it easier to manage for whoever's dealing with it, because they won't be doing it for as long. You won't have to blow dodges as much with it anymore. You can maybe just dodge once, avoid 3 of the strikes, and then take 2, and that's all right. And also, like, as far as team fights goes, Unrelenting Assault has never really been that powerful. If you're in a fight with like 3 targets, your damage is not going to be that great. Like, I've always ended up using it as a defensive tool in those situations. I honestly think that even though it's getting a damage up on each of the strikes, it is, quote, getting compensated there, I honestly think it'll still be fine, just because of mainly the strike number reduction. That getting tuned down, I think, is going to have the biggest effect on this thing, and it's going to make it I'm trying to say the damage increase is warranted because of how much else is changing with the sword and the fact that it's getting a very large mechanical change that I have no issue with the damage going up on each strike because it's going to be more manageable for its opponents. It's still going to maintain its relatively weak strike damage in team fights. I'm fine. Like, I don't have any issues with Unrelenting Assault's changes. I think they're good. Overall, Sword is getting toned down a bit, and that is what it needed to get, was toned down.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't feel like I don't share the sentiment that they are getting compensated when they don't deserve it. Like, the compensation still doesn't outweigh the overall reduction in potency.
I hope you're right. Again, and I want you to be right. It's just, again, just looking at this and I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you're right. This game isn't about 1v1s. This game, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. It will be less powerful in team fights, but again, in every single high tier play, there's always going to be 1v1s everywhere you go. And this is still, again, it's still a lot more manageable because I will only really have to blow one dodge, so it's a lot better. That's all. Again, I think it's a good change. I just don't know if it's good enough. It could be, it could be good enough. So, that's all. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Facet Light is getting a cast time. I mean, yes, it's not the instant glint heal part, but it's still the regen part. You can't flash it while you're under a bunch of pressure and get that instant heal anymore. You will have to commit to it, and you will have to you'll have to prepare it. You'll be able to get interrupted while you're preparing it. But B, people will see it up. People will know you have it available instead of right now where it's I think he does. I don't know. Whatever. Like, the only time you can be sure right now is if they pop it already. If you force them to pop it right away and then they've used it, then you know it's on cooldown. But this, you'll see that facet active on their bar. You will see them not just on their bar, but on their little disco thing on the floor. Like, there will be more readability for this skill now. And yes, the instant or the damage inversion part, yes, that'll still be instant, but you can be better prepared for it now. Your team can be better prepared for it when you're fighting the Revenant. You can see them having it active. Not to mention, it's also going to cut down on their energy regen, their energy management. Like, they will be, since they have to maintain the facet to keep it prepared, they will lose the pips associated, or the regen pips associated with that upkeep, meaning they're not necessarily going to have the energy to do other things, and they won't be able to pull off as much stuff with this facet active if they have to pop it, they have to prepare it. It gives more counterplay, and it tones down some of the craziness that the Revenant has had. Like, this change, like, for someone just like an onlooker, this might not look like that big of a change, but it affects a lot of things about how the Revenant plays, and I really like overall what adding that cast time means for everyone involved.
Depends on biggest question though. It depends on the cast time. That's the biggest question. Say it's a fourth of a second. Does it matter? Not really. Yes, I've never been stun locked to a point where I've been 100-0, quite literally 100 to 0. I've always had at least a tiny bit of time to activate one skill that wasn't instant. So I'm just saying, if it's a fourth of a second, that didn't do anything. I'm sorry. If it's 1 second, yeah, that helps a lot. It's something. But
1 second's a long time for a heal.
Well, here, this kind of goes back to something that I wanted to discuss about Revenants a little bit, is that they have access to 2 heals, right? So let me ask you this. If you have access to 2 of something, this is completely broad and very vague. This is 100% correct. This is just something that I was thinking about. If you have access to 2 heals and I only have access to 1, shouldn't both of your 2 heals be weaker than my single heal in general? Just putting it out there. What do you think about that? Should your 2 heals be stronger or as strong as my single? I'm not saying collectively, I'm saying individually.
That's a rough one, because it just, with how the Revenant works, it's a very different environment to compare that. Like, if it was like,
let's do it to Warrior, because you have a very similar skill. You have Defiant Stance, right? Which has a cast time, has the same cooldown, right? And it lasts the same amount of time, right?
We don't have
you only
the same
have one
cooldown.
Healing skill.
We don't have the same cooldown.
What is it? Isn't it 35?
It's like, it's long.
Okay, so it's 35 seconds versus 30. To me, it doesn't make much sense.
No, it might be 30. I think it's 30 now. I guess I don't know what the glint
You haven't used it in so long. It's 30. Glen heals 30.
Okay, then I think they're the same then.
So, does that make much sense to you? If you have access to 2 of something, those 2 individually, again, this is just broad. It's not encountering any of the other, aspects of the class. They should be collectively weaker, individually weaker than your single heal. But it's not. Glen's heal is better than Defiant Stance. It'll be the same as Defiant Stance. I'm assuming with these changes coming up, right? Because it'll have a cast time. But you as a warrior still only have that 1 heal. Is that fair? Just asking.
I mean, with having them both available to the Revenant,
right.
in a case where you could have both of them the same, like you have access to both of them at all times, then yes, I would agree 100%. They should both individually be weaker. The thing though is, there's a lot of things that the Revenant has to do. There are things that the Revenant has to deal with that can prevent both of those heals from being available at the same time. For example, let's say you are in the middle of fighting in a team fight or something like that, and you don't end up using the heal on one legend, but you have to swap because, say, you need the evade on that other legend's kit or whatever. Once you swap over, that heal is still available, but you are gated out of that heal for another 10 seconds. And there are a lot of other things that are involved. This is why I kind of hesitate to go one way or the other on the argument, because in the Revenant's case, there are a lot of factors involved that can either enable or disable a heal from being available, and it's very hard for me to agree or disagree on this topic because of that fact. If it was just like, if you could swap legends back and forth all the time, no cooldown, then yes, I would say, yeah, they should be collectively weaker because you can use them more often and there's nothing gating you from it. But because of that cooldown, because of the energy cost and stuff, it's not always that simple. It's not always that easy.
Oh, no, it's not. I just wanted your opinion on something that, again, I didn't have any real facts, anything else, any other variables behind it, just for what it was. I just wanted your opinion. And that's fine. Again, that's why it makes sense. And it's funny that you bring that argument up of having the ability to swap constantly, which again brings me back to what class? Engineer, which doesn't have that weakness. But that's another argument for another time.
Yeah.
Just wanted to put that out there. Let's see. We have Coescence of Ruin.
The cooldown increase is warranted, I would say, because that a 2-second cooldown.
That needs more of a cooldown. That needs more of a cooldown increase.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting them to do 6, but I mean,
yeah, at least 6.
I'm fine with 4, but I was kind of expecting to be 6 to match it with 100 blades.
I'm not. This thing, you can do it while mobile. It's AoE. It's not a projectile, so you cannot reflect it. That's strong. I'm sorry. This thing needed more of a cooldown increase. Because I compare it directly to True Shot, which does similar damage. I can't do it while moving, has a longer cooldown, and can be reflected. And it's not AoE unless you're like right next to him, right? So no. This definitely needs longer cooldown. Are you kidding me? Really? Get out of here. No. This needs a 6-second cooldown at the very least.
This one I want to see how it goes. The reason they could have only brought it up before is because maybe, this is hopeful thinking, but maybe 100 blades is now a 4-second cooldown. I'd be down for that.
But you're still immobile. This thing does comparable damage, but can be used while mobile and at ranged. There's a significant difference in that, don't you see?
Yeah,
that's a nasty difference.
Another reason why they may not have taken it all the way to 6 and they're doing it 4 is for the other reason, which is the other change they're making to it, which is it can't double hit anymore. Thank you. Right. Yeah, it won't double hit anymore, which is amazing.
Oh, that's a huge one.
That
absolutely.
is a huge thing.
A huge one.
I am so happy they're finally changing that because I've been killed running away from a Coalescence Rune because I got hit by 3 hits. That was not fun. Yes,
I've been hit by 2, but the thing is, just 1 hit is enough. I've been hit by a single hit of like 9k. So just the single hit was more than enough, but the double hit's just like rubbing salt into a wound. So I think more of it needs to be looked at than just a simple cooldown, like a minor cooldown increase. That doesn't seem like it's a lot. Again, like I said. If it was a projectile, if it rooted you, if there was more counterplay to it, then yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that being just enough. But you can't reflect it. It's AoE, right? and it's still semi-spammable. I don't understand that. I don't understand people's need to defend this. It doesn't make any sense. I still think that it's still too good for what it is. That's just me. That's why we have these podcasts, is to have opinions, and to voice those opinions while also bringing up hopefully some fact into it. And that's by fact. I'm sorry. And that's the way I want to contribute, is that it's strong in this. It's strong in this category, this category, this category, this category. What is it weak to? It's really not weak to anything, honestly, because you can't reflect it, and you can't really. I mean, I guess you could. What do you call it? You could. I'm sorry. You could daze it or stun it or interrupt it, but it's like True Shot right now. There's no need to ever cancel cast it because it's on the same cooldown as if you were to cancel cast it. Does that make any sense, to have a cooldown the same as a skill that if you were to cancel cast it? You might as well not even do that, because it's going to go on the same cooldown. So that's it. That's all. I still think it does too much damage. It doesn't have enough counterplay. That tiny bit of cooldown increase is not enough.
Yeah, I want to wait and see what this one is. I think I don't have any problems with it being 4 instead of 6, but like if it is still ridiculous, then yeah, bump it up to 6. I mainly care about the no longer double hitting thing. Like that's the main change that I am happy for, and I will see making the biggest difference, is the no more double hit, no more hitting people for 9 and then 15k or whatever.
That is painful. Okay, next one will be Thief. And then finally, Thief. Our goal with Acrobatics is to boost the regenerative ability of the Thief and remove conditions more frequently. I actually agree with that. With that is the fact that conditions do eat thieves alive. I don't really have a problem with that, with them stating it. So,
well, also the fact that Acrobatics was kind of gutted before Heart of Thorns when Daredevil came in. Or actually, no, even before that, in the June patch back last summer, Acrobatics was kind of gutted. Like, it was not really that great of a line anymore, and no one really wanted to take it because it was a detriment. The fact that they are both putting back the potency of Acrobatics and also giving it more of they're giving it more of a defined role for the Thief, which is kind of regen and condition removal, in addition to the more evasive gameplay and whatnot. I like that. Right. It helps shore up the traits for a Thief. It helps make them more defined and more useful for certain playstyles. Like the two examples of traits they give here, I'm a really big fan of. They do really help the Thief out a lot. That instant reflex, you gain evasion.
Oh, so that's a great one.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The one was terrible. The other one was terrible. It just gave you movement speed. But how much useful is that to a class who's already mobile? Again, redundancy. That wasn't necessary. This is a good change. Fleet of Shadow. I'm sorry. Fleet Shadow is a really good change. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then upper hand, they're adding regen when you evade, and they're dropping the cooldown to 2 seconds. That's also going to really help the Thief, because it'll help them sustain themselves after they've, say, gotten spiked, or they've gotten some conditions, or they've taken that damage that they really can't be taking because they have such a low health pool. Like, I'm a really big fan of that. And this change, the Acrobatics thing, like, I have a feeling there's a lot more involved with that. There are a lot more changes to Acrobatics. I'm really interested to see what those are going to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually curious to see what the duration of regeneration will be, because that's a big question. They really didn't go into depth with that one. Again, I don't mind giving Thieves a decent amount of regeneration. You just got to be careful with it, and then that's it. So I think it's a good change. I don't think I have a problem with either of those skill changes as an example. Yeah. So good stuff for them. They definitely needed a decent more bit of sustain. I can't really disagree with that one. Let's go to Bassy Venom. It's unblockable.
Venom.
What?
Is going to hurt. Bassy Venom is going to hurt a lot.
Why?
I don't
know if I agree with this one, dude.
I don't have this is a weird one, because like I wasn't expecting them to change it, but at the same time I don't really have a problem with the change. It's gonna hurt, but I don't think it's gonna be such a big deal. Like, this is gonna help Thieves against, say, Revenants or against Guardian. Like, I know you're not so keen on it because you rely on blocks a lot as a Guardian, especially against Thieves.
I'm okay with them having it. I actually agree with you. I don't think this is going to be as ridiculous as some may think. I don't think so. I think it's a decent change. So So I don't think I have a problem with this. I think it's a decent buff. I don't know if it's too strong or not, but it seems pretty good.
Yeah, because
I don't think it's ridiculous.
the thing is, this isn't pushing it over the top. Like with the whole your attacks are unblockable. It's not like Warrior Signet of Might where you get a duration buff of unblockable attacks. No, it's just your attacks with Bassy Venom are unblockable. So that means you can for sure land that Bassy Venom, both charges of it, unless obviously you miss or your opponent dodges or whatever. But if you're dealing with blocks, you will get that Bassy Venom off, and that elite has more. You get more out of that elite. It is an elite skill, and the fact that you will be able to take full advantage of that elite skill it further shores up it further meets its status as an elite skill, and the fact that it synergizes with Venom Share and gives everyone a block attack. That's going to be really nice for Venom Share playstyle.
Yep, I agree with this. I think it's a good change. I mean, I know I rely on blocks a lot, but again, like I said, it seems like a good change. Don't really have an issue.
Yeah.
Let's go to withdraw. Healing has been increased to 10%. Whatever.
This has been promised. Like this was supposedly promised to them, or supposedly added way back in June, and apparently it never did. So this is just
okay. But let's be honest here. I agree that they should have gotten it if it's been promised.
Yeah.
But is 10% really going to make or break you? If you would have died because for whatever reason it was, that 10% probably wasn't going to save you anyways. So I don't understand the need to bitch about it so much. Yes, it should be given to you, but it's not ridiculous. It's not like a 50% heal increase, you know what I mean, to where that would have saved you. So, yes, good for them. I agree with the change, but I've seen too many people bitch about it to a point to where, oh my god, this would have saved my life. No, it wouldn't have. A 10% increase would not have saved you. So, that's it. Good for them. I agree.
I just ignore those people.
That's what I'm saying. I'm happy. I want them to get this change. It's a good change. It's just, it's not enough to warrant all the people who've been bitching about it that they didn't get it. So, okay, yay! Now you have 10% more healing. What is it? Isn't it like? Let me see. Bassy Venom isn't that like a $4,500? I'm sorry, withdraw. That's like a $4,500. That's a $4,300 heal.
You keep saying.
What's that going to bring you up to? Really?
You keep saying.
You're still going to be less. What's that?
You keep wanting to say dollar, don't you?
Say what?
$4,300.
Yeah. No, it's a 4,300 heal. It's still going to bring you up to less than 5,000. What is that really going to do for you?
The thing is, it's more about your general sustain in a fight because it's an evade plus the heal. It's not so much like a clutch heal. It's more of a sustain heal. It's more of a staying in the fight heal.
There. You're not getting more evade though.
Well, no,
you're not. You're just.
But it's basically just helping their sustain. Like it's helping their overall sustain.
Yeah. But again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think they should get it, and I can't wait for them to get it. But it's not such a massive increase that it's such a necessity to be like, oh, this would have saved me every time I died. Because no, I guarantee you it wouldn't have. So that's why, again, I'm happy they're getting it, but it doesn't warrant all the bitching.
It's people being bitches on the forums.
That's all they're doing. If you're bitching about a mere 10% decrease or increase, you got some serious problems, dude. I'm sorry. Just saying. So, all right.
Next one,
shall we continue, sir?
Yeah, I am absolutely stoked for this next one. Auto attack speed on sword. This is the one thing that always bothered me about the sword dagger plays. I love sword dagger playstyle on thief. That is my favorite way of playing my thief. Sword dagger, super evasive.
How do they make it faster? It's already fast. It's half a second.
It does not feel fast. As a thief, it does not feel fast. It feels like all of your others. Like the thing is, it's a disconnect from the rest of the kit. It feels very fluid and very fast on all of the other skills that are involved in that playstyle. But then when you use those cooldowns and you have to resort to auto attacking, it feels very slow. It feels very clunky. It's just on paper it looks fast because half a second. But in practice, when you're used to the speed of the rest of the kit, it feels very slow and very clunky, and that has been something that's always bothered me about a playstyle that I otherwise really enjoy on Thief. And seeing them drop that speed or increase that speed makes me really happy and really excited, and it will help bring back that playstyle that has otherwise been basically dead since the June patch because it didn't do enough damage. The acrobatics line was not really working out that well. It's just bringing back sword dagger as a playstyle and making it feel better, and I'm really happy to see it because that's easily my favorite playstyle, and I'm sad that I haven't been able to really play it.
Right. I don't have a problem with it. I think they deserve it. I mean, if we're talking clunkiness, I would gladly trade Guardian Sword for this any day of the week. And honestly, they have no right to bitch if they want to talk about clunkiness. But that's another story. So that's why I look at things like this and I'm like, you're so spoiled. Not you in general, Shin, but like, when people complain about a specific skill and then you look at another class who has a very similar skill when it's far clunkier, you're like, what about this one? That's worse. So, I mean, I'm happy for them because you're right. They definitely need to look at it and they definitely need to adjust the speed on it because you're right. It doesn't feel very fast. I've played with it, so absolutely, that's a good change.
The next one, Black Power Aftercast removal.
I guess.
I guess.
Okay.
Cool. I mean, it's
Cool.
It's not like it wasn't needed, but at the same time, it's like, was it needed? I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
Cool with it? Yeah, absolutely. That's fine.
Dagger auto attack damage increase. This is. I think it's like honestly, I think it's fine. I don't see that. Like I've seen some like the weird one with this is I've seen both kind of meh reactions and like oh my god this is amazing reactions, and I guess I'm kind of on the meh side of things. Like it's cool, but it's not like it's. I don't know. I think where a lot of people kind of get the meh reaction, a lot of the thief mains that I know kind of get the meh reaction is it's like that's not where they needed a change. That's not where they necessarily needed a buff. They didn't necessarily need it to their sustained damage. They needed it to their ability to land their spike damage and make that instantaneous difference that like.
But have they ever had an issue with that?
I've
never seen a thief have an issue with landing spike damage. Their mobility is second to none still to this day.
Yeah, honestly, it's been more their sustain recently than it's been anything else, and it's.
Right.
I guess maybe there might be something else going on with the dagger auto attack thing that I'm just not tuned into. There could be an entire discussion that has completely flown under my radar that I just don't know about, and that's fueling a lot of discussion with it. But I don't know. I don't care about it, I guess. Like, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I mean, unless
I don't know if this was necessary, honestly, dude. I mean, Dagger has been the mainstay of Thieves for so long, and I've yet to meet a thief ever complain about Dagger, main hand. So this seems weird to see, the damage increase, right? Doesn't it? The auto attack, it wasn't. I don't think it was ever really that bad to begin with. So I don't think this is actually warranted.
Maybe it's a raid thing. Maybe it's for their violating raids because thieves have not been exactly the most sought after class for raids because of they just don't bring.
If that's the argument you're bringing, you need to bring in skill splitting in the game back, which they won't do. So that's kind of my problem is that they need to bring that type of balance back into the game to split skills. Because right now, I'm not saying it's a bad argument. It's a good argument. It's just if you're only going to balance for one aspect of the game, then you need to balance for other aspects as well, which may or may not, have the necessity for, skill splitting. So,
yeah,
just a thought. Like I said, I don't know if this change was warranted. I'm kind of hesitant about it. I don't think they needed a damage increase, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it turns out. Banished Defense, on the other hand, I like that change. I really like that change because
I think it's a good change.
Yeah, it puts more control in the hands of the player instead of the game automatically doing things. Like, I really like that because I've used it as a stun break and a block. But the thing is, like, I've had to be really careful about it using it as a block because of the fact that right now it'll automatically send you flying towards whoever happens to hit you when you're blocking. Whereas with this, the change, it doesn't actually say the change in these notes here, but they explain it. Basically what's going to happen is instead of it being a block, which then as soon as you're hit, you immediately counterattack and go hit someone, now what it is you block for the full duration, the full second and a half duration, and then if you get hit during it, it will flip over and you can choose when to use that kick. I like that because it's more control.
That's a good change.
More control.
This is a fair defensive skill too. Yeah. I like it. It's not a ridiculously long block. It's got a decent cooldown 4. I don't think it's ridiculous. I think this is one of the fairest defensive skills I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's a really nice skill.
I'm cool with it.
It's a nice low cooldown, low duration, stun break, block it's just nice. It's a very nice one. And apparently staff got some damage increase, which
Was that necessary?
I think so on everything other than maybe Vault.
Vault hits like a truck.
Vault and the auto. Well, Vault and like one part of the auto attack are fine on damage, but like a couple other parts of the auto attack and all the other skills on it could probably have used a damage increase. So I'm fine as depending on where the damage went. I'm fine with the staff damage increase. Vault doesn't need an increase.
No, definitely not. But I could see the rest of it. I could agree with that. That doesn't make much sense. I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't there's really no need to argue that one. I'm cool with it.
Warriors.
I'd say mostly good changes for Thief. Like, looking at this list, I don't see anything that was completely unwarranted outside maybe the dagger auto. That seems a little weird, but the rest of it seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Warrior time.
My time. My turn. Because yours was at the start. Mine's at the end. Okay. Overall, I'm happy.
I don't like this because they are very vague. They don't give you anything specific. They very few things that are specific here, don't they? It's very vague.
Yes.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yes, that is a problem. However, overall, with the changes I've seen, I am happy with all of them. Granted, I want more details so I can form a more solid conclusion on things. But from what they previewed, the information they gave us, I'm still very happy with everything they've done. Whether or not it fixes things, whether or not it fully fixes problems we have, that remains to be seen. I need to see the full list. And in fact, stuff they previewed, it's not detailed anywhere near enough for me to give a solid conclusion. But it's still, overall, it still makes me happy. It's stuff that I wanted to see them change to help our current situation. The first note, it says Warriors getting more defensive buff via more healing cooldown reductions. I don't know what is getting a cooldown or a reduction. I don't know any of that stuff, so I can't give I can't give a conclusion on it or a prediction on it. But the fact that we're getting those, which is what we need, is good. I like that. It's going to help us.
But you gotta be careful. Remember,
yes.
Careful.
Yeah.
That line. We don't want to go back to that shout bow line. Remember, that line is very thin.
that line
doesn't take much to cross it.
Crossing that line is bullshit, and I don't want to go back to those. But I don't like being where I am now either. Now, the heal
to
chain...
the limit.
Well, not just to the limit. All of our heal skills, and adrenal health. The adrenal health change it's a passive thing, and it forces into defense. I'm not super happy about that, but it's sustain. It's what we need, so I'm not gonna turn away the adrenal health increase. But anyway,
I wouldn't either if I was in your spot. But I think it's a terrible way to address it.
Yeah, it doesn't
like the to the limit one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Here's the thing about to the limit. I think the value we saw during the live stream was like 9K, 10K. The thing is, this is where it should have been when they originally turned Healing Surge into to the limit. By giving, it should have been the stage 3 Healing Surge value at the start, and that's where it's going to be now. It's basically going to be the old 3 adrenaline healing value that Healing Surge had. That's where it should have been when they originally did it, because yes, it had a shorter cooldown from the shout reduction trait, but that forced you to take tactics, and otherwise the 7K heal that it gives now wasn't quite enough unless you were running a defensive shout build. And in order for this to be viable for all builds, it needed to have had the stage 3 value that it had before, because that's where Healing Surge was really only good, was stage 3. And
and that's it.
Had all of the other problems that it had then. But anyway, I'm happy they're bringing it up to where it should have been. I
agree with you. It was a necessity. Seeing every single warrior run Healing Sig is annoying as fuck.
And it's boring.
And I'm kind of scared. It's boring, and I'm kind of scared. They're increasing it by a tiny bit. Do you think from this change, what do you think Warrior's going to run? To the limit or Signet?
That's going to depend on testing. I need a lot of this stuff is going to require testing for me to get.
Well, let me just ask you really quickly. Say to the limit's 10K, just 10K.
Yeah.
And then you have Healing Signet with the 20 extra. What would you take? Just ballpark. What do you think? What would you take?
I can't say because it's
the tough one, right?
It's going to depend. That's the thing. I like that fact. I like the fact that it is a tough decision just at the outset, and that's why I want to be able to play test it and give a better thought. The other thing that really has me interested, they say other heals, they specifically mentioned mending. If mending is finally viable again after 2 years of being trash, I will be incredibly happy. Because mending is one of my favorite warrior heals. It's nice and quick, it's got con removal on it. I love how it works. It's just, it hasn't healed for shit. It has not healed for enough for over 2 years. Ever since Healing Signet got buffed, since Healing Signet got overhauled, I should say, it just didn't match up, and mending has never matched up since that change.
What would you see like what should it be done? Because it's on a pretty short cooldown. It doesn't heal for a lot, but it also removes 3 condies. I mean, I'm not sure what they should do with mending at this point.
They need to up the healing of it. That's all they need. That's all they've.
To what?
To like 7K. 7K would have been a good amount.
I could see that. That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, the problem with mending has always been it has not healed for enough. The cooldown's been fine. The condition removal's been. They buffed the condition removal a while back, and that wasn't what was causing problems. It was just it never healed enough to match our base 18K health pool. And the fact that they are finally increasing it, depending on what that final value is, it could be very viable again. And that's what I want to see. But I need to see the numbers. Otherwise, I can't say. Mending could still be trash. If it's like only up to 6K, that's still
I would
not.
take it.
Yeah, that's still not good enough. And with especially,
well, if anything, say they increase it to 6K, they would have to reduce it to like 15-second cooldown or something like that.
Yeah.
To compensate at the very least, you know. So because again, like I said, I don't like to compare other healing skills because you have so many other variables for the classes. Healing turret is 15 seconds, 20 if you blast it. Heals for like what is it? Isn't it like a little bit over 5K? I can't remember honestly. My math is terrible with that.
Which one?
Yeah, healing turret.
Healing turret. I think it's I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I don't know. But I can agree. It definitely needs to be more. And when you say base 18K, I'm so jealous, dude. I want 18K health. Yeah, that'd be nice.
We're on like the opposite sides of the health pool grid. But no, like it's especially with the fact that To the Limit is also getting a buff as our other burst heal. Like, yeah, mending needs to be up to a good number to be considered for being used. And if they succeed in balancing all of our heals to be roughly equal in value, then it goes to what it should have been from the outset, which is you take the heal that's based on what synergizes best with your build or what you feel you need to deal with the most. If it's adrenaline, To the Limit. If it's condition removal, mending. If it's more preventative or passive, like if you want to focus,
Bunkery style, I would think.
Well, I was going to say if you want to focus more on offense and you just want to have kind of a preventative like resistance buff, Healing Signet. Giving each heal equal value but different roles for the warrior is good. That's what we've needed forever because running Healing Sig for every single build for 2 years is boring as shit, and I'm tired of it. Granted, the change they made to it back in June was good. The fact that we actually have a reason to use it now for that resistance is good, but that's not enough. We need variety. We need the ability to have to make a decision based on our build and based on our playstyle between our heals instead of always just slotting Healing Signet. Granted, To the Limit was made better and it was used, but it can be used in a shout build, but it's not so common that you constantly see To the Limit over Healing Signet, or you see them equal. It's majority Healing Signet still. So I'm really happy.
I'll be honest, it's like 99% Healing Sig. I've almost never seen to any other healing. I've seen like 1 or 2 Defiant Stance ones. That's kind of cool, but that's it. That's all I've seen. It's like 99%. Healing Sig.
Defiant Stance. They say they're doing. I think they're doing something in Defiant Stance. I hope they do. Like, I would love to use that.
I'll trade you. Do you want to have my Litany of Wrath?
We have we have your Litany of Wrath now.
What is it?
It's Blood Reckoning, which I also
That's
help.
Some bullshit.
Yep, we have.
That is bullshit.
We have that. You got Healing Spring or whatever.
Wait, really? Is that what you call it? Healing Spring?
Well, Rangers have a trap heal. That's what Healing Spring got turned into, is a trap.
You're right.
Yep. You got the Rangers. You get Ranger stuff.
Yay. I did, yeah. Actually, we got a better version of the Rangers, I think.
Yep. The
some damage increases and some
and
aftercast removes, so you can activate skills quicker.
this is how they are addressing the fast hands elephant in the room.
I hope that's what they're doing, because I got to be honest with you, I don't think Warriors ever had an issue with dealing damage. Your spike is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's.
Am I wrong? I mean, it's pretty significant. I don't think you ever had an issue dealing damage.
Yeah,
I mean, there might be some issues. Other, maybe some specific skills were like really clunky. I could see that, but I don't. Again, I'm not trying to be biased, but their spiky warriors still exist, and it hurts. And I'm a little hesitant about this one, especially since it's so vague. You know what I mean?
The damage increases. It's going to depend on where they put them. Because yes, I agree. We don't need more damage. We're fine on damage. It's just our ability to land the damage and stay alive to land the damage. That's always been the problem. But the damage increases depending on where they put it. That could be fine. Like if they increase the damage on dual strike on offhand X, that's a place that's needed. That is definitely a place that's needed. But
yeah, I can agree with that. That makes sense. Absolutely.
The thing I'm more interested in with this note is the aftercast removal, so we can activate skills quicker. They showed it with Throne Axe, the X3 main hand. That the aftercast on the thing is like half a second. It's ridiculously long, and it's been that way forever. Like it hasn't ever really bothered me, but it is still annoying. It's still there. It's hard. Like I throw my axe, and if I'm at range, it's not a big deal. But if I'm in melee and I want to get that cripple off, it takes a while before I can do anything else. So removing, like, that's where they specifically showed a removal of the aftercast. But being able to use skills quicker, and going back to the first thing where it says cooldown reductions, that's good, because if we can use skills more often and we can activate and we can chain them more quickly, that's going to help reduce the need to have fast hands, because we can do, like I said in the preview blog, it's going to allow us to do more within a weapon set. And we won't necessarily need a 5-second weapon swap to switch between our two weapon kits as often. Granted, it's still gonna be useful. People are still gonna take it. I will probably still take it simply because I'm used to it and it fits my playstyle. Very active stuff.
Yeah, it would be kind of hard to actually like wean I would say it would take a while to wean yourself off of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
if you wanted to.
Yeah, but depending on how they've changed things, it might not be that big of a deal, and it might be we can camp a weapon a lot longer and be fine. This is one of those ones where I have to see the full notes. I have to play test, because a lot of this comes down to how do things feel. How does it feel to play? Not necessarily how necessarily potent it is, or I mean, granted, these are going to increase the potency, but I want to get my hands on this. I want to see the changes. I want to get my hands on it.
You need to see it. It's too vague. You don't have enough information.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like everybody else. You don't, so that's fair.
Exactly. The Cyclone X change is PvE, and it's whatever.
I'll be honest with you, this needs a buff in PvP. Like, give you like a stack of stab.
It needs.
Because this is so easily interruptible, dude.
What they need to do is they need to equalize it with the Thief Stolen skill and finally give us projectile reflect.
You know, that would be kind of cool. Actually, wait, no, this isn't what you think it is.
No, well, it could have been if Cyclone X, if they're talking...
No, this is different.
Yeah, this is the number 2 on the main hand X, which I don't know why that was ever split. I don't recall Cyclone Axe ever being split. I always remember Whirling Axe being split, the number 5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Whirling Axe. My bad.
Maybe it's a note. I think this could be a note change. I would have to go back and watch the stream again, but it should be the 5. It should be the offhand X5 that's getting merged again. I don't know why it was. I don't know. I don't remember Cyclone Axe ever getting changed like this. But either way. Yeah. It's a good change. Cool, it's merging them back together, because in PvP, the offhand Axe 5 has always had 50% more damage than it has in PvE, which is quite a bit. But I don't know, I guess... Oh, I know why they nerfed this before. They nerfed it before because of the ore farming. Way back.
Was it?
Yeah, events
you would, a long time ago,
run around tagging mobs for a lot of damage and get max credit really easily with offhand Axe 5.
Right.
So they nerfed it, and then... Oh, no. They nerfed it, and then they buffed it in PvP again. Not like that really increased its usage in PvP, but anyway, they increased in PvP, but never in PvE, and they're finally doing it again in PvE, so... It's cool. Yeah. It doesn't really affect me unless I start really using offhand X. Unless
Yeah.
this really is the X2, I'm still going to use
No,
it.
it
Regardless,
is.
but it
Yeah.
says Cyclone X. I'm going to need to go back and watch the stream to make sure it's Cyclone X and not Whirling X, Whirlwind X, whatever, because I don't recall Cyclone X ever getting split. I do not recall the number 2 ever getting split. I only remember the 5 getting split.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Just for more verification. That's all. Rightful
I'm actually,
rework.
I'm actually getting a tip from chat. It is. I am right. It is number 5, not 2.
Oh,
They
okay.
did. It is a
Then
mistype.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
I still stand by my statement. They should give you stab because of how easy it is to interrupt.
Well, we have stab as
Just
it
get,
is,
like-
though. We have balance
I don't know.
stance and last stand and all that fun junk.
Try to be nice to your warrior here, okay? Trying so hard.
This preview is already nice to my warrior. Rifle rework.
work, crack shot.
The rifle rework made me incredibly happy. Incredibly happy. Like, just the change to brutal shot makes me incredibly happy because it takes a weapon that has not had any defensive utility whatsoever and finally gives it that much needed defense. This is why rifle has always been a gimmick weapon in PvP and has never been taken seriously because it does not have any defensive capability whatsoever, and it's finally getting some, and I'm really happy. Between this and all of the other changes that are happening with warrior and with all the other classes and with the amulets and whatnot, rifle may actually be a seriously viable weapon in PvP, and that makes me really excited because I don't like having weapons that are trashed here in any mode. I like being able to have that variety of using all of the weapons available to me. Having brutal baseline piercing is cool as it is. You got it on kill shot, volley, on our harpoon gun underwater, that's whatever. But piercing shot and kill shot, getting baseline piercing shot, volley, kill shot, having baseline piercing is already cool, just because they do a lot of damage and they're ones that are kind of nice to have piercing all the time on. The additional adrenaline per shot on all of our shots, that's really nice because that's another problem rifle's always had. It's always been an adrenaline-starved weapon. It's been very hard, unless you build yourself to have a lot more adrenaline from traits, which is a very awkward thing to do for a rifle build. It's always been very hard to get the adrenaline up quickly enough to get reliably, to have the adrenaline have the adrenaline ready to match the cooldown of kill shot or of gunflame, or gunflame not so much, but kill shot mainly. Having the adrenaline allows us to kill shot more often, take more advantage of the kill shot. It also means we'll be able to have builds with, say, adrenal health or berserker's power, where we'll be able to take full advantage of those traits more often because we'll be building adrenaline more often. All of that is not even talking about the brutal shot, which is now going to give us a 400 range backwards evade, which helps our sustain with it, and an immobilize, which means we'll be able to line things up. We'll be able to use this. You'll be able to use the weapon for a more utility role. We'll be able to get people in a position in, say, a team fight, pop brutal shot, they're mobbed, and we're out of the fight, and then we can kill shot. Or we can line up a volley, or we're otherwise out of that shitfest that otherwise rifle can't deal with right now. And it's
Let me ask you
just
something, though.
so nice.
It feels like brutal shot is redundant to longbow in essence that the longbow number 5 is also an MOAB.
It's the thing
You know,
is, yeah,
A little different. It's not an evade, obviously,
That's
but
the- that's the thing.
It's a little redundant.
That's the thing. The longbow is going to move to be a bit more of a. Well, actually, until I see what the longbow changes are, the longbow is probably going to stay roughly the same. But the thing about this is going to allow rifle to be in melee more. That's the thing. That's the big thing about this. This is going to allow you to be in the fray more with rifle, whereas
Right.
you can't do that right now. Longbow you can because you have immob, you've got the blind, you've got all the condition pressure that you can shoot at someone like shotgun with fan of fire. You can drop combustive shot at your feet. You've got longbow doesn't have problems being in melee because it has that utility to keep you alive and keep you making a difference. Rifle has never had that. Rifle has only had rifle butt, which up until they buffed the knockback, it was pretty trash for that, and it was on a long cooldown. And also stability blind would completely negate it entirely. So it just didn't. it was not useful enough for a defensive role, and also your opponent could just get right back in your face. Easy
Right.
peasy. Having brutal shot there as an immob and a backwards evade gives the weapon so much utility that it's needed forever that it's going to. I could definitely see this becoming something that is truly viable in competitive PvP settings, depending on a lot of other factors, obviously, but this just makes the weapon so much better. It helps the kit so much more, and I am incredibly happy for this change.
I'm with you. I think it was definitely warranted for sure. You didn't see too many rifle warriors out there. The only time I ever really saw them was when they were trying to countercomp me on a guardian with, because it does work when you run like Signet of Strength and shit. But just in general, it really wasn't ever utilized in PvP as much as it should have.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right now,
I don't really have much of an issue with it.
Right now, all you see warriors using rifle for in PvP is a gimmicky gunflame build. That's it's really only good against bad players or unsuspecting players. And even then, it's not that great.
You just said bad and unsuspecting. What else goes with that? Huh? Huh? Huh?
Dragoners.
Oh, come on. You did it. You're awesome. But no, absolutely. I agree with you. Yes, the rifle did need some help, a lot of help. I'd say more help than any other weapon that you had. I saw other weapons being utilized. I've almost never seen a rifle be utilized.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not counting offhands here. Like offhand axe needs some help.
Yeah.
So that's just one of them. But yeah, it definitely needed some assistance.
Yep. And then there's also the number 2 on rifle is basically getting the vuln that was. I honestly I don't even know if brutal shot is getting the vulnerability it had removed. I just know that now aim
I'm sure
shots.
it's an addition.
Yeah. Now aim shot are number 2, which I think also has baseline piercing. And a cripple, that's getting vuln, and apparently it's getting its damage increased, which is good. It needed that because it was easily one of the weakest hitting skills on the in the kit. But the fact that it's applying vulnerability further synergizes with another change they made to the auto attack, where we get more adrenaline on targets that have vulnerability with the auto attack. That, coupled with the fact that everything else is getting more adrenaline, like it goes into the whole thing I just talked about, like. I like the rifle rework a lot. A lot. Really happy.
Hopefully again, it's goes with the rest. I'm really hoping because honestly, there are definitely a lot of weapons in this game that could definitely use some assistance. So this being one of them is honestly, I'm very happy to see it.
Yep. And finally, this is another really cool change. I'm not as stoked for it as the rifle rework, but I'm still pretty excited for this. Depending on, actually no, just not depending on anything. I think it's a really cool change. Okay, in Berserker, King of Fires, and they did say they were going to work on a lot of other traits and a lot of functionality for Berserker in that overview blog post they did a little while ago. I think back on Monday. So other changes are coming, but Berserker King of Fires, they're changing the functionality from what it is now, which is basically when you crit on a 2-second cooldown, it will spread some burning to nearby targets. Okay. It's not like it's stacks of burning, it's just one burning. It's the function. Mainly people use King of Fires for the increased duration burns. And I think there's also like a slight burn application. I'm not sure what it was, but
Only 2 seconds, not very long.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of just there. It's whatever. People take it for the burn duration increase. What they're doing is they're taking away that crit spread thing, and they're replacing it with something that is a lot more interesting and gives us a lot more interesting gameplay. Basically, what's going to be is when you crit with an internal cooldown of 15 seconds, when you crit, you get a fire shield. You get a fire shield on you.
Do we know the duration of it?
No. I have a feeling it will be 4 seconds.
That's a very important question.
Yeah. That's where the potency comes in. I'm not sure how potent this is going to be. I'm just excited for how interesting the gameplay is. But basically,
4 seconds seems like it'd be good.
Yeah, but basically, we get a fire shield. And then this synergizes with the other thing. This is the really cool part of it.
This is gonna hurt.
If we use a Berserker skill while we have a fire aura on it, we explode that fire aura. We get to have gameplay that involves applying auras and interacting with auras, and we get to cause explosions. And it gives us 3 stacks of burning for 3 seconds, which, if we're building for condition damage and synergizing with all of our other stuff that involves burning, this is going to be, hopefully this will be really powerful, this will be really potent, and it will give us more burning pressure. It will give us more condition pressure on our opponents, as well as more burning application. It will allow us to just throw out more burning. And the fact that it's fire auras, and it's any fire aura, will mean we can synergize. We can take better advantage of the fact that we have our torch and sword combo. We can take better advantage of other people's fire fields. We could. It just
that's going to be a lot of AoE burning.
It gives
3 stacks is nice.
It just gives us so much. It gives us a new opportunity of gameplay. It gives us a new way to play Berserker that I really like. It helps spice up the gameplay a lot.
This sounds good. You know what the funniest thing is? And I just thought about this.
Yeah.
You're gonna replace Guardians as Burn Masters. I swear to God. Oh no! Whatever. Who cares? But honestly, this is a good change.
Yeah,
I like it. I think it's a fair change. It's a very big functionality change, which I'm okay with.
I'm going to assume, based on the Ellie aura thing, that it will be 4 seconds.
That makes sense.
4 seconds.
If they're baselining all auras, then yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. You're right.
And that's nice and long. We get all the benefit. We get a more reliable fire shield, which gives us all the benefits of that, which is the might stacking, the burn when people hit, and all that. I just really like what they're doing. And also, it's a Grandmaster trait, which means it's kind of supposed to be one of those more flavorful things. This is definitely a flavorful trait. I really like this.
Absolutely. I would take it too. Absolutely. It sounds freaking badass.
Yeah. The thing is, I hope they do something with powerful synergy that helps kind of take advantage of this, because right now powerful synergy basically just gives us double duration auras when we use elite finisher.
Yeah, I don't think it would honestly do anything. It would probably hinder you to take it, because it says based on an aura that would explode. If there was like an aura on your bar that had like the number 2 by it, that had 2 stacks that actually took advantage of it, then yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work the way you want it to work, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, until auras can stack like number and not just duration.
That sounds bad. Let's not do that.
Powerful synergy is not that powerful of a trait. Like, I hope they do something with powerful synergy, because powerful synergy was one of those traits where back when they were doing the June preview, it sounded really cool because it's double effect on elite finisher, and that's a cool idea. It's a cool concept. It's just in practice, it's not really that great because auras only stack in duration. Like for a water finisher, water field leap finisher, that's pretty cool because it's double healing and all that. But it's just it didn't quite live up to the potential that its concept could give it. So
yeah, I think it would be a waste with that trait. I'll be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Like a complete waste. Because there would be no reason for you to take this specific trait with powerful synergy, because again, in that instance, if you're taking powerful synergy, you want it for that aura. You don't want to burst it open. You don't want to remove that. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and also as far as the King of Fire's rework is concerned, it's basically still one aura. That's the thing. Yeah.
There's absolutely no synergy with that whatsoever.
Which is ironic.
Maybe that's...
I was going to say ironic because
maybe
it's called powerful synergy.
Yeah. I see what you did there. Funny. We have just basic regeneration approval for mage skills. Cool. All right.
Oh yeah,
an issue with that one.
I forgot about that. That one is kind of.
That's cool.
Like the thing is, the rage skills are already pretty decent on adrenaline generation. I mean, more adrenaline's cool. I'm fine with that. It incentivizes them more, but there are some other things that need to be looked at for rage skills, like Sundering Leap not being garbage, Wild Blow not being awkward.
That's what I'm saying. You have to look at the skills themselves, maybe just not so much the regeneration. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm hoping I really want to see all of the changes. Like Warrior, I really, really, really want to see all the changes because there are so many things.
Of course you do. It's your class, my friend. Of course you would, and I agree with you. You know, the funniest thing is I was not expecting a balance change until like March, because I'd assumed that you would not get balance changes until well after the season has ended, and the season's not ending until this date. So I wasn't expecting it to be January. So it's a pleasant surprise.
I was.
But we'll also have to see and hope. Really?
Yeah, because
you were expecting it.
They said between seasons. They said they wanted.
I thought they weren't doing. Well, yeah, between, but that's not between. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, actually, yeah, it is. But again, me being as pessimistic as I am, I'm thinking at the later end of it, just because
After
not the
season
beginning.
2,
Well, no,
Mr.
I'm thinking like almost the beginning of season 2. That's what I
Oh,
was
I
thinking.
see. Well, even so,
You know,
that's
so late in
February.
it.
That's February. That's still
Is
not
it?
March. Yeah, February 26th, I think, is the, or 23rd, I think, is
Yeah.
the start of season 2. Mr.
So,
Cynicism.
well, I have to be because you will never be disappointed.
This
You
is
will
true.
never be disappointed, but at the same time, yeah, you won't be, totally hyped. Now, I wanted to ask you this, based on just what we've seen. Like, ignore all the amulet stuff just for now. Based on what you've seen from every single class, what do you think is going to be top tier, middle tier, and then probably shit tier? Because there's going to be a class that's shit tier.
Yeah,
There has to be. It's in every single meta. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
The thing is, I am very hesitant to make any claims of this type of caliber until I see the full notes. So you're not going to get a very.
That's why I'm asking for now, like based on what you see for now.
Yeah,
Again, I'm not going to hold this. I'm not going to hold this against you or anything like that. I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah,
that's all.
Even still, like you're probably not going to get a solid answer from me.
That's fair.
Out of me. I think
that's completely understandable.
I think the ones that will be very popular, very common, at least to start the season. You will see a lot of Necromancers. You will see a lot of fresh air Ellies. You will probably see a good number of Thieves and Warriors. The Warrior one, I'm not sure. Thieves probably. NGs will probably.
We're hoping for Warrior,
Yeah, it's
hoping.
Again, I'm very wishy-washy on this because I don't have all the info. Based on what we've seen, I'm expecting a lot of Necros, a lot of fresh air alleys, probably a good number of NGs.
I don't think Engineer would be completely out of it, because of how, I don't know.
I could see a good number of Rangers still.
The funniest thing is I'm listening to the way you're listening this, and I'm really sad.
Condi Revs.
Do you have any idea why?
I was going to say Condi Revs are probably still going to be a thing. Because Guardians. No Guardians.
Yeah, thanks. I honestly think that, and again, I hate to be biased, that we will be that tier this time.
I mean, yeah.
And I guess I'm okay with that. It sucks because somebody has to be it. But I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, just again, it's very. I don't like making claims.
No, we don't know. Yeah, you can't make an assumption because you don't have enough information to make it off of.
Yeah, but
I'm
yeah, based on what we've seen and how little is changing with the Guardian, you're probably not going to see many Guardians unless we have a lot more changes that we don't know about. Based on the previews, you probably won't see a whole lot of Guardians of really any flavor because Bunker doesn't seem like it's getting much of an improvement, and also all of its amulets are going away. You might see Cleric Bunkers, actually.
I think you might be right on that one. You might be right on that, on the Cleric's one. Or the other new amulet.
Some of the new ones.
Yeah. For support. I could potentially see that.
Dragon Hunter you might still see around because they can still be good with disruption, and also things won't be as sustaining, so your burst damage will matter more. So I could still see Guardians. Mesmers, Shadow Mesmers will probably still be. Will actually probably get more popular again.
I kind of hope Shadow Mesmer does, but at the same token, I don't like Stealth Burst. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah,
because Stealth Burst has no counter, or very little counter. I'm sorry, there is counter, but not many. Again, it goes back to what we've been talking about, having only certain classes have access to certain counters, which is not good. So I kind of hope they look at Stealth Burst. I hate Stealth Burst, dude. I think it's terrible for the game. It just kind of goes hand in hand with passives.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think Connie Rev is still going to be pretty popular and pretty powerful. Like unless we see other changes, like really nothing is changing with kind of other than the sword changes, and even then, you still got mace. Like mace and axe is really powerful, really powerful. So Connie Riv will probably still be a thing, still be a popular thing. Um,
Well, if they keep it just as it is, it would still be incredibly powerful. Yeah,
yeah, again, we're just going based off of the preview that we've seen.
that's it.
What else? I hit LA, NG, Guardian,
I think
Ranger.
you had every class.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
the bottom tier is probably Guardian, but even then, I think Guardians will still be viable. I think they'll still be viable. They just won't be, Ellie or Necro status. But
Yeah.
again, yeah,
We don't know.
we
have to
don't
see
know. It is
changes.
so hard to tell just based on the limited info we've got and not seeing the full notes. Like it's just, it's like it's not so much that I don't want to make judgments like that. It's that I mentally cannot make those judgments because I
Until
don't.
you have the information in front of you, and you
Yeah,
don't. You
it's
don't have
just
all of it. You have a little bit, which, again, you know how we talked about earlier how I bet that whenever we see changes, they're almost always concrete.
yeah.
That doesn't always mean the case. They could definitely change.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a small possibility, but and that could definitely be that could definitely be there. But we'll have to see. And it's like you said, I could not really. I could tell you, but it wouldn't. Again, it's not as concrete
yeah.
as I would like it to be.
Just the way I've been trained and educated, like it is nigh impossible for me to make any conclusion like that based on limited information because I
Right.
need all the info. I need to know.
I'll do a quick one. Let
Go
me see.
for it. Go for
All
it.
right, top tier. It's gonna be Necromancer without a doubt. Necromancer. Elementalist is gonna be top tier. Middle tier, I believe it's gonna be Ranger, Revenant, Warrior. I'd say middle lower tier is gonna be Mesmer and Thief. And I think Revenant will also be top tier only because of the fact that if this is all they change, then they're still going to be solid. And again, I hate to be biased. I think it will be Guardian's turn to be on the bottom, which I don't want it to be. It is what it is, but I think it will be our turn. And that's it, man. I think you're definitely going to see Necromancers be the mainstay of every team comp. To some degree, I could definitely see Ellie's because with Mesmer's getting nerfs to their sustain and group support, they won't be as strong a bunkers compared to Tempests, right? So I
Yeah.
see Tempest making a comeback in that regard, them being the mainstay for bunkers.
Well, you say
So
comeback as if they've not been top tier
well,
this meta.
they have been top tier, but they kind of been replaced a little bit by Mesmers to some extent. But now that's going to be completely gone based on the changes I've seen. So based on what I've seen, I'm just going to say that Tempest will take over the role of permanent bunker, I think.
I
What's up?
I
You don't think so?
I think a a bunker Tempest is going to melt too quickly to be a bunker. It's good. He'll be good support still,
Right.
but not bunker. Like I've even seen this meta is a Tempest can stay alive on a point for a decent amount of
Right.
time, but they cannot bunker as well as a Druid or a Mesmer simply because they are so squishy. Like without Diamond Skin, it's very hard to come back from a Kami
Right.
bomb. I have been melted very quickly as a Tempest in a team fight as opposed to a
Right.
Druid or a Mesmer that they have more ways to either stave off or recoup damage than an ally just because while there's basically a Tempest is really powerful in a 1v1 or in a case where you can't do enough damage to out-sustain their healing or to get them below that 90% mark very far to where they can't recoup. But as soon as they drop far enough below the diamond skin threshold, it's very hard to come back as an Ellie without any sort of support from your
Fair enough,
teammates.
yeah.
So I don't think Tempest will be used as Ellie's
You might be
Tempest.
right. I
Yeah.
have no idea. It's something I was thinking about. Again, just like you, it's so hard for me to make that choice. You know, the funniest thing is Thieves. This is the reason why I say it's funny is they are the only class, and I still believe they will be the only class that has been in the meta forever, since the beginning. And I still think that will be the case for the mobility and the buffs they're getting, which isn't a bad thing. You know, I'm not saying they don't need it. I'm just thinking that in terms of like what classes have been in the meta for which and how long, Thieves have actually been the longest. They've actually have never not been in the meta, if I remember correctly.
Because of their mobility.
It's interesting to see that. What's that?
Because of their mobility.
Oh, it's mostly the mobility and decap capabilities. Absolutely. I'm just putting it out there. It's just curious to see that I think they'll still be in that. So that's all. That's it.
But no, what I was saying is, I think the reason Ellie's could possibly be top tier is simply because of the fresh air changes. You'll see basically kill shot Ellie's running around that can get that burst off really reliably and spike targets down really efficiently. I think that's what Ellie's going to be primarily used for.
You mean from? Are you talking about fresh air?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, because that ferocity buff and overload. Like, imagine this: a Marauder or one of the new.
You wouldn't even need Marauder because if you have that ferocity, you don't even need as much because you could just take the tankiness of say mercenaries.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean. So,
yeah, but what I was saying is like imagine this: fresher Ellie in the middle of a fight, they spike someone down, and then they get off the point. They crit someone from far away, and then they charge their overload air while running into the fight, drop it, get back out, crit someone again after the cooldown of fresh air, and then run back in with another charge, another overload air.
That's evil, man.
Drop it.
I hope they're looking into that, because even with Ellie's who are running Selly Amulet, overload air still hits like a truck. It still hits really hard.
Yes.
So that's kind of scary, and it's the size of a point. So just putting it out there. Just saying.
Yeah, well,
so
it's going to be very interesting to see the full list of notes and what next
scary,
season's meta is going to be. I really want to see that list of notes.
I think we all do, my friend. And I again, I hate to be, cynicism, but just past practice makes me feel that way anytime I play the game. Is that they make a couple of good changes, but then you have these glaring issues that are still there, or just like over buff the crap out of something. And now it's like, oh, great, now this is going to be the meta forever, and that's a problem, kind of like what you have with like Revenants and then Bunker Mesmers to some extent. Actually, not to some extent, but it was actually to a significant extent. So I'm hoping that they put out decent changes, and I'm also hoping that any changes they do put out, they're looking to change those, within a reasonable time frame and not 4 months. That's all.
Yeah, they're more granular with their changes.
That's it. That's all I ask is, man, everyone makes mistakes. I'm not saying the meta will never be perfect, but if you can recognize something that shouldn't be, adjust it accordingly. Don't take 4 months to it. It doesn't make any sense because you're losing your player base I don't want to fight stuff like that. You don't want to fight stuff like that. It's not fun. So adjust it accordingly. Don't wait forever. That's all. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. We will have to see what comes of the balance patch and all that. So I'm looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to maybe shooting for legendary next season?
I'm still kind of thinking about this season because I got plenty of time still. I'm in decent in diamond, but at the same token, it's like if I keep running into like Bunker Mesmers and Revenants, I'm just gonna be like, well, I'm done.
Well, hey,
so we'll see, but it's kind of interesting.
If you're on when I am, I have no problem duo queuing with you to help you get legend.
Queuing. If you do that, we need to be on Warrior. You need to be on Warrior. You need to be on Warrior, damn it. Don't worry about it. I'm just honestly, as kind as that would be, I would probably want to do it solo queuing, even though that's going to be a giant pain in the ass. So, but I do appreciate the sentiment. It's very kind.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
but like I said, I'm kind of what do you call it? I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I'm also scared. Just like every other major balance patch, where it doesn't take very long to find something that's ridiculous. How long did it take for people to find out how ridiculous Revenants and Bunker Mesmers were? Patch it. How long did it take, really?
That took probably, I want to say, a month.
It's not very long.
I feel like it was a month.
Could have been. I think Revenants were much quicker. Find out how strong they were.
Yeah.
So, just saying. Well, that was fun.
Oh man, we went on for. Oh, I actually
How
have it
long?
in OBS. We went on for almost 3 hours. Wow,
That's a podcast for you, isn't it?
that is a podcast indeed.
It's a podcast. That's the ultimate podcast. I feel like I'm still kind of scared I'll be the only Guardian ever left. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah,
Alright.
man, it was fun. I really enjoyed the podcast like we always do. So,
Yeah.
you
We'll,
know,
we'll definitely have to do another one of these after we get the full notes
Yep.
of the patch, and then we'll see what all we can actually formulate proper conclusions after that.
absolutely, sir.
All right. Well, if you're fine with it, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. That is a lot of stuff for a podcast to come back to. So, with that, I'm going to say thanks everyone for listening to this episode. This has been Shin-Arken Podcast, episode 21, going over a little bit of season 1 stuff and a majority of what's coming up for the next season's balance. It's been myself, Shin, and we got Arken here.
Thanks again for watching, and I don't care if you like the way I argue or how I talk with my friend here, Shin, when we discuss things, but I bring facts. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's just the way things go with discussion. But I do appreciate you watching it.
He brings them facts like a dragon hunter brings traps. You may not like it, but he's doing it, and it hurts.
I'm doing it. I don't care.
All right, we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Take care.